incendie partout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. This conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back for another week, another stream for you guys. We'll be closing out this month's theme of Bond with Casino Royale, the inaugural outing of Daniel Craig in the title role.
Kind of sad.
Kind of sad. Especially if you know the ultimate end of Craig Bond, then yeah, it's kind of sad. We got our news topics, of course, or news topic, and we'll be giving our preliminary thoughts on the movie Dune that premiered this past Friday.
I'm looking forward to it. It was an interesting experience, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then why don't we just, I don't know, because usually we do that the whole like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? Da, da, da. I don't know if did anything like particularly noteworthy happen?
Well, let's see. Well, initially, so I messed up. This month we had been planning on going to watch Silence of the Lambs in theaters. Turner Classic Movies has something through their website where they do like a Fathom Events thing where they show classic movies in the theaters, and there's usually one special movie every month. And October's was Silence of the Lambs, which was like, oh, awesome! I'd love to see this in theaters. I, for whatever reason, because I've been so busy this month, I got mixed up, and I was thinking like, all right, I was telling you, I was like, oh, do you want to come? I'll get the tickets and everything, and we'll figure it out from there. And I went to order the tickets like before, so I was like, oh, well, that's sold. We're watching that. So I did that. And then we decided we were gonna watch Dune that night. We all bought tickets to go, but we had some time to kill in between things. So I ended up watching The Green Mile again, which for the first time in a long time actually. I was like, that movie is really good. Obviously, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen it, or if you've ever seen it, Andy.
Yeah, it's been a minute for me as well. It was a good one, and man, like Michael Clark Duncan was really good. If you didn't cry, you had no soul.
Oh yeah, you have no soul. So I was like, there was that might be a future episode with Dan the Man. He really wants to talk about that movie, and I think that's a movie worthy of an episode all of its own. But so I did that. Then we watched Dune on Sunday, and then yesterday, since it was raining, the wife and I, we finished up, like, we'd been watching some movies, but we had like paused on like all of them for whatever reason. So we finished up all the movies we'd been watching. We were watching $1 Million Baby with Clint Eastwood and what's her face? I can never remember her name. Morgan Freeman.
I just had the name in my head, and then I just
She was famous for like there was a good like 5-6 year period where like she was one of the go-to.
Yeah. I think like her biggest claim to fame was Boys Don't Cry, I believe. It was like it was a woman pretending to be a man.
But yeah, watched $1 Million Baby, which is I'd never seen it before, and I cried a little bit in that movie too. We rewatched Bad Boys, which is just so good.
The original one?
Yeah, from '95.
Oh, and then, wow, yeah. Dude, it's crazy because I saw it not recently, but within like the last maybe 8 months.
Yeah,
it's crazy how dated it looks.
I don't care. I still love that movie to death. It's
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah, don't get me wrong, so do I. But I'm just like, I just couldn't help but notice like how
well. You
dated
know,
it
it's
looks.
Michael Bay. Of course it look. Yeah, of course it looks dated.
Well, but also because of like the architecture and like the clothing, and, like or like the style of clothing.
It is definitely from the '90s, and it doesn't give it
Yeah,
credit
no,
being from the.
yeah. And I mean, and I love it too. I grew up in that era. Bad Boys is a part of my formative years, as it were. Um, and for good or for bad, Michael Bay is part of my formative years, and there's a lot of stuff that that I really enjoyed from him. I particularly like The Rock.
Yeah,
The Rock
that
is a
that
great one,
movie.
and I think interestingly enough, I think the greatest secret Bond movie that no
Oh
one
yeah,
knows
and
about,
it really is.
that
We'll have to
nobody, yeah,
do the movie at some point. Like
what was
we'll
that?
have to we'll have to do the
Yeah,
Rock.
I saw this. I watched this video on YouTube. This guy who kind of broke it down and saying how it really is like the character that Sean Connery plays. It really is Bond.
Oh yeah, I could totally see it.
Like the time, like he's like matching up the timelines and like when when Sean Connery's James Bond was like supposedly operating, and so yeah, this is like this The Rock is like the greatest
Secret.
low key Bond movie that nobody knows about.
Yeah. It's yeah, that'll definitely be a movie we talk about at some point because it's great and
Mhm.
one of the best soundtracks of all time. It's
Yeah,
really
absolutely. And I think one of like a really good what is it? I think there's a really good message there too, especially about like governments crapping on their soldiers,
yeah,
which is kind of the kind of the whole point of the movie is that this general like he's led men into harm's way, and you know they've fallen, but like their government has not acknowledged them or paid out restitutions for their service, and so and he's been trying and trying to he's been imploring the government to make good on their responsibility, and it's just kind of like falling on deaf ears. So he takes to extreme measures to finally get heard. Um, and in similar in kind of tying it to current times, it's kind of like the same thing with a lot of like police, and even some first responders, particularly what is it during Joe Biden's town hall. When asked like, oh, should police or firefighters or first responders who don't submit and get the jab, should they be fired, or should they be let go? And then Joe Biden said yes and yes, to which he received thunderous applause. Just like these people who worked all last year, so without a vaccine, are
yeah,
and now like people who are trying to exercise some bodily autonomy, they're now demonized. Like, how dare you put us in danger? It's like, well, it's like, but you better be there. If my house gets broken into, it's like, go fuck yourself.
yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something we will definitely talk about at some point because I really like that movie a lot. It's been a long time since I've watched it too. It's probably been about like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I also for like the zillionth time I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance because I
Nice.
absolutely love that movie. I probably
Yeah.
like that even. I know it's crazy. People make fun of me for this, but I like it even better than the original Die Hard, which is also great. But I just love the chemistry between Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis. It's just, and I love all Jeremy Irons is great.
Mm-hmm.
He and just like all like the puzzles that they had to solve and all that. It just the banter between Zeus and John McClane. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I think the most hilarious part for me in that movie is when Jeremy Iron tries to affect an American accent.
Oh Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, Alan Rickman did the same thing in the first Die Hard. So
Well, no, he was doing a German accent because he was playing German,
yeah.
and
Well,
which I think he did what is it?
surprisingly well.
Yeah, surprisingly well. But yeah, just like when he goes into the Federal Reserve, it's like holy Toledo. It's just like it was almost like Al Pacino esque.
Oh, I yeah, he was a little bit. It did have sound a little bit like Pacino in there.
Yeah,
But it's just a movie that I love so much. And it
it's
has
a good movie. It's a good movie, but the first Die Hard will always be my favorite.
I don't blame you. It's great. It's
Mm.
probably my second favorite. But I just
It's my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
oh yeah, absolutely. That is 1000% true. Uh, I don't. Did we ever review Die Hard with the Vengeance on this show?
I don't think we did. I know we did Die Hard, the
We
first
did the
one,
first
yeah.
Die Hard.
Yeah,
But
because we
yeah, I
did
don't.
the Christmas movies, the
That's
the
right.
off spec Christmas movies
That's right.
for December of like a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, that was a fun month.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to do Die Hard with the Vengeance at some point too, just because that movie is great. I don't care what anybody says, it's great.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can do you know the best sequels to movies,
Oh yeah,
to original movies.
then we get Terminator 2 in there. We get some Die Hard with the Vengeance because Die Hard 2 is okay, but it's not as good. I don't think it's as good as Die Hard with the Vengeance.
No, it's not. It's funny. I've been trying to isolate like what the problem with Die Hard 2 is. It still kind of eludes me. I think it tries too much to be like the first one.
Yeah,
But that's like we see been there, done that kind of thing.
That's where I felt like Die Hard with the Vengeance was something new. It was something like a little bit inventive and fun and great action from start to finish.
Right. But thinking about it again, I don't like that they blew up Holly and John's marriage.
To be honest, though, I think that's exactly. I think that was the right choice.
For that particular story, yeah, it was the right choice. But personally, I don't particularly enjoy that. But I understand for like the story that they wanted to tell with Die Hard with a Vengeance. Then yeah, I understand why they did that.
But I think that's true to John McClane's character. He's a stubborn dick. It's like that's it. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, in the first movie, he even admitted as much. When she wanted to move out to California and he wanted to stay in New York, he just kind of let her walk out the door, and so.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I didn't have a problem with it because I felt like it's like I think that's exactly what would have happened eventually, anyways.
Right. I mean, the trajectory of like their relationship.
Yeah.
But like, how do you leave a man who literally saved your life twice?
Well, I've heard like that I heard somewhere too, like where there are these like romances that rekindle or are started through like disastrous situations, and then because of like whatever like chemicals that are like like, whatever it's the adrenaline or whatever, that's how the relationship starts, and so like just like living a normal life with that person isn't really it doesn't have that same feeling, and I think a lot of people. So like because their marriage is already like on the ropes and to begin with, and it's because of everything with Hans Gruber, like him like going to save his wife. I think that like kind of like, oh wow, John cares about me, and like it's this very tense situation, and so their marriage, like their romantic life, like rekindled. But once that's over, it's like this. They never resolved their problems. So.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's kind of like I know, like a lot of people were pissed off that Megan Fox didn't come back for the third Transformers movie, but it's like they're kind of there, but it kind of makes sense because was Shia LaBeouf's character and her character relationship was kind of started off in that same way, where it's like, its foundation was like this, crazy and exotic circumstances.
Yeah, I
And
mean, think
so
about it like with like a lot of these like great franchises where you have like kind of like these love stories. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Marion and Indiana, like she doesn't come back in Last Crusade. She's not involved in that, So
right.
like their
Yeah, and I
relationship
mean,
is very
yeah,
rocky.
exactly. And if you take
You
the events of Crystal Skull as canon, which I don't know if I still do, or I don't know if I will include it or not, but yeah, it's like, they broke up, like, although she kind of absconded away with his child.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it's you see that a lot in movies where it's like
yeah,
you have these crazy situations where yeah, there's romance that's kindled, but it's not like it's based off of craziness and adrenaline, and once that wears off, it's like that doesn't necessarily solve the problems.
right. Yeah, it's I mean, another reference, but that TV show Scrubs. There was that one episode where the main character JD, he was, he had this thing for this patient's wife, who the patient was in a coma, for a number of years, and there was some tension built up there, and eventually when the husband, the patient, did pass away, they started a relationship, but it was like, she only enjoyed it when there was like all this drama, and like, now that they could be together, there was no more of that spice where it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of forbidden for us to be together, and so.
Exactly. Yeah, that exactly right. And I think that's exactly what happens with Die with a Vengeance. And I think it works. But that's just it because
Yeah,
to me
yeah,
it's not like Force Awakens, like where they like turn Han Solo into like a deadbeat dad and all that stuff. Like
yeah. No, exactly. That's
it's not like,
yeah.
it's not like that at all. Like to me, it feels like a more real experience because I know like there's a lot of uh, people who I know who've been in relationships where like they have all this drama, but it just doesn't work. They're always on and off again, and then like it just kind of it ends up fizzling off in the end because they both like yeah they do love each other, but like their issues that they never resolve like are always a problem, and that's why they don't end up together.
Mm, very good points. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't personally like it, but I understand. Like, I understand why they did it for the sake of
No,
the story,
like
the
I said,
story that
I
they wanted to
respect
tell.
your opinion. I'm just giving you like
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
behind it.
Right, 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 right. Of course,
But
of course.
that's not that was my weekend. It's once again I'm watching movies, and that's kind of that's what I do in my downtime a
Mm,
lot is just to rewatch old greats that I love all the time. Sometimes I need like that quick action fix that like yeah I've seen Die Hard with a Vengeance 1,000 times, but it's still fun and exciting for me. Or you relive old classics like The Green Mile. Like I wouldn't watch that every day, but damn, like that's a great movie.
right. It's like movies like that. It's like Thanksgiving food. You have to have it like at least once a year.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it has to be the kind of like the right time. As opposed to your big action packed blockbusters, like The Rock,
yeah. You need
like
those
that.
movies too.
Yeah, like those are the ones that you can continuously go back to. But yeah,
But
even yeah, like Godfather. I can't watch Godfather like every single week. You know, of a month. No, it's like it's,
like
it's
once a
again,
year,
it's like it's
definitely.
like Thanksgiving. It's like Thanksgiving food. It's at a certain time and like at least once a year.
Yeah. We'll have to. I know we did kind of the first one. We might have to have Eric back to talk about Godfather 2. We haven't. We should do that
Yeah, yeah. You should.
because that's a movie that I know he knows like the back of his hand because he
Yeah,
watched
yeah. But he'll
it.
but yeah, but he'll still bring in a huge like spiral notebook full of notes.
He's probably always like every time he rewatches that movie, I guarantee he's
Yeah,
taking notes.
yeah. He picks up something else, and again, like, yeah. He's gonna come with like 3 notebooks of notes. Like, did you guys notice? Did you guys notice how Michael's lapel was this way, but in the next scene it was another way? And it's just like, oh my god, dude.
I've actually been watching a lot of De Niro movies recently too, because I watched for the first time I watched The Untouchables. It's got Sean Connery in there. Once upon a time,
that's right.
Once Upon a Time in America with that's De Niro and James Woods, who is also great in that movie.
That is that like kind of like a ripoff of Once Upon a Time in the West?
Well, it's Sergio Leone. That's.
Oh, it is Sergio Leone movie.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a spiritual sequel to Once Upon a Time in the West.
He's done a couple. He did the Man with No Name trilogy, obviously with Clint Eastwood, and then he did the Once Upon a Time trilogy, which are not. They're not like the same character or even set in the same time, because there is Once Upon a Time in the West, which we reviewed a few weeks ago. Then there is the second movie of that, which was done with James Coburn and oh god, I forgot who the other actor was in that, but it has several different titles. There's Duck, You Sucker, or there's like there's like two other titles, but I know it is Duck, You Sucker. That's the second one of that trilogy, and then there's Once Upon a Time in America, which initially that was the movie he really wanted to do. That when they were trying to force him to make Once Upon a Time in the West. That's a 4-hour movie, dude. It is long. It's long, but it's great. It's got a great soundtrack. Ennio Morricone is doing the soundtrack on that, and James Woods and De Niro are good. I don't think that they're good together though. Like the chemistry between them doesn't feel like it gels very well. Because I like Woods and I love De Niro, but it just didn't feel like those two characters really connected to me. Or those two actors didn't connect to me.
Okay.
But yeah, so Dune. I think this new version of Dune did a really good job. And for those of you guys who haven't watched yet, Dune to me is a very difficult film to make, because the material that it's based off of,
or
the book,
at least it's really difficult material to adapt to a visual medium.
Right. This is the anti-Star Wars, where which is a very simple concept to understand. Where this is very high concept. There's a lot of dense political matter. There's a lot of you're trying to figure out like all these different characters, like, and how they're affecting one another. And I think there's a lot of books. I don't know how many sequels there are.
I think there are 5 books in the series.
There's 5, yeah, okay, and they're all huge. Like the first book is 900 pages. Like this is not something that can be dealt with.
Yeah, in a weekend or.
See, this, I think, to me, I think Dune would be better handled as like a TV series.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to say in the late 90s or maybe early 2000s, Sci-Fi Channel did do a miniseries.
See, I don't know. I didn't know about that.
And I heard that actually was done pretty competent.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
And this is not a movie that, like, if you're gonna watch this, don't come into you come to it like you're freshly rested. You're paying attention, because this isn't a movie that you can't be on your phone. You can't be like kind of doing other things. You have to just kind of sit and like take it all in. And it might take a couple of viewings, because this is a very dense, take your time movie. Like
it's a very dense material. There's a lot of, again, like pretty like high concepts. Particularly for the main character, because he has like this ability to see in the future, but not just like what's going to happen, but like possible futures. Which I don't think was communicated very well, and so that's why I got a little bit confused, but then I started to figure it out. because
that
there was
was
that scene where he sees this guy, and it looks like they turned out to be friends, but then in a later part of the movie he has like the same vision with that same guy, and they end up fighting and getting killed by that guy. So yeah, the main character, like he's kind of a messianic figure, um, and so and he has certain abilities. He has certain abilities that kind of aid in that kind of perception of him as a Messiah. And so yeah, again, and that's one of those things that if you weren't really paying attention, you could be utterly confused. And I was paying attention, and I was still confused.
Yeah, like this is even hard. Like it was funny because my wife went to this because we it was a few of our friends, and then like my wife was with me. We were all watching it together, and
Mm-hmm.
she she was like, "Do you understand what's going on?" And I'm like, I'm about like maybe like 50% because like this is even hard for me to like kind of get through,
Mm-hmm.
not like getting through the movie like, oh, I hate this movie, it's boring or anything like that, but it's just like there's just a lot to take in, and
Right.
this is not a one viewing movie. You have to watch it several times.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, if you only understand 50%, like, no, I understand 0%, right? This is not a movie that my wife enjoyed, and I understand why. This is not a movie for her.
No, exactly. But
Uh,
again, your wife is so damn inconsistent, though. You know, uh, there's, 'cause I think you said that there's some movies where you think that she wouldn't get it, but like she's
she
completely on
loved,
top of.
she loved Eyes Wide Shut. I'm shocked. Like that, I was like,
Right.
that's a tough
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. And then like some like know nothing movie she like hated, or like one that's like kind of stupid but like kind of good, but she like hated it.
Yeah, like
So yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to gauge with your wife.
I I haven't figured it out yet. It's
Yeah, yeah. You
and
haven't
like
figured out the sauce.
we watched $1 Million Baby, and I was like, I'm not sure if she's gonna like this, and then she liked it. It's like it's always kind of like hit or miss sometimes.
Mhm.
Like, but I actually Dennis Villeneuve did a really good job with this movie. I'm gonna rewatch it on HBO since it's on HBO as well,
Mhm.
just so like I can watch it with subtitles as well.
Yeah.
Because that, to be honest, I really enjoy doing that now because I find that I catch things that I didn't see without them. Like as far as like what the hell are they saying, or if like it's sometimes you even catch like small bits of dialogue that are almost silent.
Mhm.
Um, and like that it's like, oh shit, that character actually said that. Like even though it was very quiet, they said it, and it's like that. Yeah, that might be an important piece of dialogue that I would have missed.
Mhm.
Um, but I felt like all the casting was really well cast. Like Oscar Isaac, I think did a good job. Jason
Yeah.
Momoa, one
It's
character.
funny. Like I had a huge case of beard envy for Oscar Isaac's beard.
Dude, he had a
That
great
beard
beard.
is that
Mwah.
his beard is exquisite.
Yeah,
I,
mwah.
I, I had a little beard envy.
I did a tip of my cap to his beard. It was really great.
Yeah, because I wish my beard like would grow like up to my cheek, but it just doesn't. It just gets like all the hair is like under here, and so like
Yeah.
like up here it's really sparse, and like no matter how much I shave it, and like yeah, that's a lie. Those people that, oh, you just have to keep shaving it and it'll like grow in thicker. It's like that's not true.
Nope.
That's objectively a falsehood. But
You're
yeah,
gonna end up with a Pai Mei beard from Kill Bill.
I know. Yes, which I'm kind of excited. I just hope I get the matching eyebrows.
Oh, dude.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I want to grow out my beard so I can like just like stroke it and just like seem like very wise.
Dude, like if you let it grow, like for like just like don't like just like trim it like slightly over the next
Right.
like years and just let it grow, and you can do Pai Mei for Halloween, dude.
Yeah, I mean, probably not in a week, but maybe next
No,
year.
like, another 6 years.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, but since I've been actually taking care of my beard, it actually looks like better. Like it looks
I almost
fuller. And,
I think if you ever shaved your beard, uh,
mhm.
I don't know if I would recognize you because I haven't seen you without a beard in years.
Yeah, well, I think this November it'll be 3 years with my facial hair.
Yeah, because you were beardless like when we first started
Yeah, when
everything,
we first met, yeah, yeah.
and you kind of like just started like, oh, I think I'm gonna let it grow for like a little bit, and then
Hmm.
you never stopped letting it grow.
Yeah, just like yeah. First, I just let it grow like uncontrollably, just to see what I get. But yeah, and then and then for a little bit, I did keep it. But then I kept it more trim and not as long as it is now.
Yeah,
And then and then I was and then with like the lockdowns and everything, I was like, screw it, just let it grow, and then I let it grow, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it, and then I think, yeah, I want to try to get at least down to my chest.
oh, dude,
Um,
like you're Pai Mei. That's what your beard's
yeah,
gonna.
but I think at first I want to try to go for the Viking, and so I like get to the length where like I'm able to like even like braid it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I want to get the Viking braid at least once.
Dude,
Yeah, and then
that,
because like I'm already getting like the white hairs in my beard, so yeah, it's gonna be white, so I'm gonna go the full Pai Mei.
dude, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
But yeah. Anyways, yeah, Oscar Isaac's beard was amazing.
he was
Jason
really.
Momoa. I mean, Jason Momoa plays Jason Momoa in every role.
Oh
I'm
yeah, no,
sorry.
like I said, but if you no, but I think like they put him in the right role. Like they put him in the right wheelhouse. I was like, yes,
Yes,
when
like kind of
he
like
was in his,
the funny like Big Brother warrior. Yeah, that's
yeah,
Jason Momoa.
when he was in his wheelhouse, like home run every time.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't put him in like a romantic comedy or anything, but like in this kind of like actiony dude bro role, he's
Hmm.
awesome.
Right. Yeah, he plays like a soldier, pilot. Big brother to big brother figure to the main character Paul.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, Rebecca Ferguson. She did good. She did pretty well
yeah,
as the mother and concubine to Oscar Isaac's Leto or
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, like it was well cast. It was like I said, it's just that
Oh,
Dune.
what's his face? Stellan Skarsgård as that big fat floating guy.
Yeah, the that was the guy. So I don't know if a lot of people know. There's actually a whole like story behind like Dune even getting made in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those movies that was thrown into developmental hell when it was first getting like, because once Star Wars really changed the game as far as like, oh, people like sci-fi. Holy shit!
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to make these great like sci-fi franchises, which Dune was. It was a very popular book series.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we got to get this made. Like, and this is not like it's not Star Wars, but it's like there
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
an
but yeah. It's what is it? It's science fantasy.
yeah,
It's
and
not strictly science fiction. I mean, it's fiction, yes, but it's more of the genre of science fantasy.
sci-fi fantasy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this like the second go around when they pretty much everything was set up and ready to go. It was, I forget the director's name. He was some like he was kind of a no name director, but like he'd done a lot of work, kind of like artsy work, but
Mm-hmm.
he had everything set up, like everything was cast, everything was ready to go, and the production company they wanted him to finish it in a certain amount of time. And he's like, no, I need this amount of time, this amount of money, and they wouldn't give it to him. But that role of the Baron that was played by
Stellan
Skarsgård,
Skarsgård.
who was great. But that was supposed to be Orson Welles, and yes,
dude, that would have been perfect.
It was like that.
Oh,
movie,
so you're talking about the 1980s Dune.
Well, this was going to be made back in I think like the late 70s. So this is before David Lynch got a hold of the project.
Right, but even before David Lynch, they were considering this Chilean director back in the 80s.
Yeah. So they were initially going to make this back in like right after the first book came out. They sold it for like the movie rights. It kind of like they had all these people like in place to make it. That didn't work out. Then it came to this Chilean director. He actually had everything in line. Everyone was cast, everyone was ready to go, and then it got kind of like at the last second got the axe. There's a whole documentary based on that. I forget the name of it, but it's I actually really want to watch it. It looks pretty interesting. But yeah, like that role would have been with Orson Welles. Oh, 100%, that would have been great.
Yeah, and they got Orson Welles to do the voice of
Unicron.
You know, so it's like
I think that was his last role too.
Yeah.
Before he died.
Yeah, but yeah. Just trying to imagine Orson Welles, as Baron Harkonnen.
Oh, he would have been great.
He would have been perfect. Oh my god.
Role.
Talk about your missed opportunities.
Made for Orson Welles.
Talk about your missed opportunities.
Oh, man, it's.
This movie, this Dune that recently came out, again was done by the director of Blade Runner 2049. At least, I'm sure he's done other things, but that's like what he's most well known for now. But credit where credit's due. Like he does a really good, because I didn't particularly enjoy Blade Runner 2049 all that much.
What? But okay, you're crazy.
I didn't say that I hated it. I just said I didn't enjoy it that much.
It's not as good as the original. It's good. It's good.
All right. I just didn't. I know compared to the original, I didn't enjoy it as much. But I will give to the man that he knows how to world build. And yes. this is what he did and this is, I think, really important thing for Dune is that he establishes a world for Dune. Yeah, yes, he didn't go into like the nitty gritty, Planet Caladan. Yeah, we saw kind of like parts of the palace and like the parade grounds, and we didn't actually see a city. But I could believe that there is a civilization on that planet. And similarly for Harkonnen, we don't get like sweeping shots of like cityscapes or whatever. But what the director does with the shots that he does give us is he gives us a little flavor, and I could see, and I could imagine that there is a large apocalyptic looking city on planet Harkonnen. So yeah, credit where credit. So credit to the director. How do you say Villeneuve?
Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve. Yeah, credit. Yeah, he does world crafting. I should say world crafting really well.
This is probably the hardest world to craft. It's so
hard.
Yeah,
exactly. So I know. Like some people might criticize him for saying like, yeah, but you didn't give us any like cities, or all we saw were like these kind of static shots of just like parade grounds or like a room inside of a palace or whatever. That's like if they and hopefully because I heard rumors that they're not going to make a sequel, which is ridiculous.
No, it got announced today. There is a sequel coming.
Okay, great. So there is going to be a sequel. So I think what he has laid down is good enough for a first movie, and in the sequel they could expand a little bit more.
Yeah, well, because the thing is, like, I know people are like disappointed. Like, to me, I feel like this should probably be like a TV series, just because it's so dense. But like, because otherwise, like, the movie is going to be 6 hours, and you're still not going to be satisfied.
Right. But yeah, again. Yeah, I think the director is really good at world crafting, and I think this first movie, does a good job of kind of laying the foundation for the second movie.
Yeah.
And and
Once I saw like this is part one, I was like, oh, we're gonna take our time. I can really feel like this is gonna be a little bit of a slow moving movie, and I gotta
yeah.
pay attention.
I mean, it was like really slow moving, just in general. And towards the end, like it was hard for me to like keep my eyes open. It didn't help that I was sitting in one of those reclinable chairs. But
Yeah, same problem. Had the same problem.
But yeah, for the first movie, I was satisfied, and I look forward to what's gonna come next.
I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, and everyone like complaining about, or some people were afraid that, you know, uh, the main character Paul was gonna take a back seat to Zendaya's character, but she's only in it for like she's only in for like 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes at the end.
Maybe.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, she appears in like some of his visions, but that's really sporadic and throughout the movie. But like really, like her biggest screen time is like 10 minutes at the end. So.
And I think the reason, like, and this goes to like the trailers. Of course, they're gonna show Zendaya more because she's the bigger star. She's obviously she's MJ in the Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Oscar Isaac is a bigger star, Jason Momoa is a bigger star. So of course they're going to show these people more because there's a movie with Zendaya in it. There's a movie with Jason Momoa in it. Of course I'm going to go watch that. Like because our main character is a little bit of a lesser known name. Like I don't think I've ever seen him in anything.
Although I think he definitely reads at 16, as opposed to what's his face from the 80s, Dune.
Dude, yeah.
He's like, that guy was like 25 at the time. He was like trying to play 16.
Yeah, it's the David Lynch version, like it's very David Lynchy, where you get this like. I mean, he gifted us with maybe like this 2 minutes of exposition dump, like the beginning of the movie, and then he just kind of like, fuck it, like he's just gonna just have his movie, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know who any of these people are. Just like every movie that David Lynch does, like, and people love him for some reason. Like Twin Peaks is this like huge hit, like with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
The
Cult of David Lynch.
Yeah, they're like Mulholland Drive is another really famous movie of his, and I've watched all of it. And I'm like, I would consider myself a cinephile, but I don't get it. I'm sorry, I just don't get his stuff. And I was even telling one of my friends, I'm like, David Lynch, like to be honest, I don't understand any of his stuff, and with the way that he answers questions about his movies, I don't think David Lynch understands what the fuck he's doing either. He's like one of those postmodern artists that like, the red dot and the scribbles represent this or that. It's like, no, they don't. You just did whatever random crap you could think of that you thought looked cool, and that was that.
Yeah, no, David Lynch seems like the type of director, or I dare say artist, that's like, like it means what what you think it means, just like that. And I hate, because I went to art school, and during critiques I've heard some students try to use that explanation. It's like, well, it's all, it's what you bring to the piece. It's like, yeah, that's fine and all, but there's still such a thing as artist intention, the artist's hand. Like, the reason why, Leonardo put that fold in the Mona Lisa's dress was for a reason. It was purposeful. There was a reason. Exactly. It wasn't just because, I think it looks nice, or it means whatever you think it means. Like, no. Leonardo put the folds in the Mona Lisa's dress in a specific way, yes, for aesthetics, but also with intention.
I mean, sometimes like a bird is just a bird or whatever, but like these movies.
But yeah,
I'm
like a bird that's like that flies over the head of the baby Jesus with the fig leaf or with the olive branch in its beak. That means something.
yeah, but like it's just I just think I'm like this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Like or like he does all this stuff that like oh this kind of looks cool, let's do that, and like or just do this like fever dream stuff. I'm like, but in the end, I don't think he knows what the hell like is going on either.
Right. I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I understand the rule of cool. It's like, oh, why'd you do that? Because it looked cool.
Yeah,
Like, I totally get that. I totally get that. But that can't just be the entirety of your movie. It's like,
yeah, but that is the entirety of his movies. Like, oh, it looked cool, so I did it.
and big ups to him for having the balls to be like, oh, because it looked cool. But it's like, in a world where like Godfather exists, in a world where like Chinatown exists, in a world where so many of in a world where Citizen Kane exists.
Even that movie, like, because that movie is heavy. That is a heavy movie, but Orson Welles knew what the fuck he was doing.
Right, exactly. There's still intention. There's still the artist's hand in those movies.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff that was very cool in that movie, but he also knew what the fuck was going on.
Right. I mean, I know that we were talking a little bit, backstage and kind of in the beginning about Michael Bay. Even Michael Bay is the epitome of because it looks cool kind of directing, but even still, like you see his hand, like the intentionality of like like particularly in Transformers movies where he uses like certain cars because he is into cars and it's like, oh, I want to use this car, or like I want to use such and such car to represent this this Autobot or this Decepticon, yada yada yada.
Bingo.
So yeah, it's like oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was an Autobot that was a tank? It's like and that could and blah blah and on and on and on. But there would be like some sort of I don't want to say deeper, but even shallow is deeper than what sometimes we get with David Lynch.
It drives me crazy, and it's like, but people love David Lynch. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
I don't get this guy.
I don't knock those people. It's like, hey, if you like his stuff, that's your thing. Like, great.
Good for you. Good for you.
I'm glad you love Twin Peaks. I'm glad you love Mulholland Drive. Glad you love his movies. That's great, and that's I don't want to take anything away from what people love.
Right.
I personally, I don't know what the fuck is going on in anything that he does. I'm so lost.
Right. Yeah. I don't mean to like shit on people. What's that? What's that scene? So yeah, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's a point where I'm like Mugatu from Zoolander. I'm like, am I taking crazy pills here? Like, I don't know what's going on.
It's the same look.
One of the movies I love that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about Dune. I don't want to like really give anything away.
This isn't like a regular review. We're just kind of giving our first impressions, initial thoughts.
If you've never read the book series, I recommend it. I mean, I've read the first one. I haven't read any of the sequels, but I've read the first one, and it's good. If you don't mind reading a 900 page book, which I don't. So that's great. But like, I would recommend this movie. Like it's like I said, you be awake, pay attention. And you're probably gonna need to watch it a few times just to kind of like get some of the because it's a dense movie. There's a lot to take in. Mm-hmm. This is a hard world to build, and you're not gonna fully get everything in the first go around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what makes a movie good sometimes. Like where the first viewing is not gonna be your only viewing because like when you watch it a second time, it's like, oh, I missed that part, or I missed this, and that's what brings us back to a lot of these movies that are really good. Like when I watch a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, I gotta watch them a few different times just to make sure, like, oh, I missed this part, and this changes my view of what's going on. Like one of the greatest examples of that with Nolan was Memento. I've watched that movie, a bunch of times now, and I still get something new out of it every single time. So yeah, I say go watch it. It's great. It's a heavy movie. A lot going on.
Yeah, very dense. Be prepared for your brain to kind of work overtime.
Yeah. Oh, I was working overtime, and I think I burned my brain out like that night just because I was so tired, and at the same time, like I had watched like 4 different movies that day, and I think I was just like, I think my brain hurt. That should have been the first movie I watched, not the last.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's all I got to say about the new Dune. Check it out.
All right. Moving along with tonight's schedule. We're going to be talking about everyone's favorite pandemic doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Back in the news cycle
Back
again.
in the news again.
He's
and it's sad because it's sad that this is the story that might finally bring him down.
He's getting the Cuomo treatment.
Yeah.
He's getting the Cuomo treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for those of you not familiar, the Cuomo treatment is, basically the media ignoring, the thousands of, deaths under his tenure as governor of New York, particularly, elderly death, nursing homes and the like. And, for a year and a half, no one said anything about it. No one, and there's that one, what is it? The head meteorologist at Fox News, like her in-laws, both of them, her husband's parents, both of them died because of Cuomo's policies of returning COVID positive patients back into nursing homes.
Yep.
So at the very least, though, there are two bodies on Andrew Cuomo. I mean, there's at the least.
There's a lot more than that, but yeah.
Confirmed. They're confirmed. Yeah, there are a lot more than that, but so far, like if it was only that meteorologist from Fox News, and that's at least 2. But we know that there are more because what was it? After he got out of office, there was all this there was this avalanche of information that came out saying like, oh, actually the numbers of the elderly that died because of this policy, is off, more than again thousands. And so, but what was it that finally took down Andrew Cuomo? It was an alleged sexual harassment charge,
which is probably true, to be honest. Like based off the evidence that's there, it's like, yeah, he probably did that shit, but which is bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's a good thing that he, it's like, oh, it's not. He pretty much went down for a nothing thing, but when compared to
comparatively speaking, he went down for a nothing thing. Not to say, again, we're not saying that it's okay to if a person in power abuses their power and sexually harasses or assaults one of their underlings is a good thing. No, not comparatively, because dead bodies versus a girl maybe being come onto totally different things.
Yeah, but the thing, what the bad part of that is that he's gonna get lauded for his supposed COVID policies. He was the COVID king. He was really taking action and doing stuff. He had wrote a book how he was so awesome, and the media.
Well, actually, he is kind of getting punished because they took back the Emmy. The book sales. They took back the Emmy. They took back the Emmy.
Are they still homosexuals? Like all those pundits.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like Ellen and
they took back that stupid Emmy. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they took back the Emmy. His book sales, tanked. Yeah, tanked after it.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
there are some repercussions. There are some repercussions.
Like, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of like the Capone thing. Like, they were never able to get him on, murder or bootlegging, but they were able to get him for tax evasion.
I mean, like I said, it's good that he finally like went down for something, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's like but maybe not necessarily in the media, but there's gonna be whole swaths of people that think that he did a great job with COVID, and
Yeah.
it's like they're not gonna like tell the truth, or like because they don't know the truth, or they're ignorant to the truth. But that's what's gonna happen with Fauci. Don't get me wrong. I'm an animal lover. I love all sorts of animals. I also love to eat animals. But anyway, so that's that's a different story. But
Particularly the delicious ones.
the delicious ones, exactly. And what the NIH was funding with like these dogs is disgusting. Why they're doing
particularly the cordectomies, which is basically removing the vocal cords of the dog so they wouldn't have to hear the yelping and barking, in pain.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, why did they need to do any of this reason? What was the point?
I don't know what benefit was it to humans? What benefit was it to humans?
Especially because this is something where like they're we can't like be experimenting on animals and doing all this stuff, but like NIH has no problem doing that, funding all that type of research.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, PETA is silent on this matter.
Exactly, that's the other thing I've noticed too. Haven't heard anything from PETA about it, have you? Because they're probably in cahoots with the NIH.
Yeah, they probably supply the dogs.
Yeah, I mean, people
if you guys don't realize, PETA puts down more dogs than your probably county pound.
Yeah, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't get me wrong. This is terrible. Like, I'm not saying it's not like I'm not promoting animal testing and experimentation. Cruelty. Like, this shit is disgusting. It really is. But let's be honest. This guy, the stuff that he has funded, his policies that he has enacted, he's gotten enacted, have killed a lot of people, destroyed a lot of people. Going way back to the fucking 80s with the whole AIDS thing, which people still don't realize. Yet we have it on Disney Plus. We have this whole documentary like, oh, Fauci is the greatest doctor ever, aside from Jill Biden, of course. But it's like the second greatest.
Yes, Dr. Jill Biden. Have some respect, Robert. Dr. Jill Biden.
I'm sorry. I will whip myself.
Yeah, she should have been Secretary General. Okay.
But I will remember to whip myself after the stream is over. Yes. For my
as you should. But yeah, I mean that was literally what people were saying. Back when Biden first got in, and people weren't putting enough respect on Jill Biden's name. I think Whoopi Goldberg was the one who was like, yeah, I think she's smart enough to be Secretary General, even though her fucking doctorate is in English.
Which is still a doctorate, yeah, sure, but you're not
a medical doctor, yeah. You're not an MD, you're a PhD.
I mean, if there's like a division of English in the white or in the government, like, yeah, go for it. Like, she might be great.
PSAs on proper comma usage.
Yeah.
It's like, are you?
Other than that, I don't give a fuck what Jill Biden has to say. Right, to be honest, I don't think that the first lady. Why
do we even give a fuck of what the first lady says?
I don't. I really don't.
I didn't even care what Melania had to say about shit. And she was smart. She kept her mouth shut.
Exactly. Anyways, but yeah, this is what's gonna happen to Fauci. Like his policies since from
and
the
AIDS.
Truman administration, since he's been around. Jesus Christ, he's been around for so goddamn long.
He's lasted over 6 presidents, 6 administrations.
He has done everything wrong. A lot of people's lives have his actions have either killed people or destroyed people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying this forever, but there's a faction of gays who absolutely hate Anthony Fauci because AZT is literal poison, and he's one saying, yeah, it's good for treating AIDS, and that's actually what the big numbers of AIDS death was actually is from AZT treatments.
Yep. So, yeah, you got that. You had that.
Yeah. AZT, and by the way, AZT is a failed cancer drug.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which they surprisingly found that, oh, we have another we could find another use for that. It's like, oh yeah, let's kill the homos.
Yeah,
let's poison the homos. That's essentially what it was. It was to poison the homos. So if you want to talk about genocides, yeah, Anthony Fauci is
not this new generation of gays, but like if you talk to older gays.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm
guy.
Yeah, I don't know how many are still around, but yeah, there's a good faction of gays that absolutely despise Anthony Fauci, and for good reason.
And yeah, but he's not going to go down for any of that stuff.
No,
but he might go down for this.
Yeah, he's gonna go down for dogs, and I mean, there's a reason why I titled this story.
Just so you know,
there's a reason I titled this story, call John Wick, because it's like no one gives a shit. Okay, what was it? I think there was a survey done, and they did I forget what the parameters were, but they asked, they basically proved that people care more about animals than they do about other human beings.
It's true. Think about this. When we watch movies, if our main character kills 50 guys, we're like, yeah. But you kill a dog in a movie, oh shit. The audience will turn on you.
Yeah, even if you just kick a dog, you're like, oh, that guy is evil, pure evil.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Anchorman, with when Jack Black kicks Ron Burgundy's dog, everyone's like, it's like, no, not Baxter.
Yeah. I mean, that was the funniest thing, and then one of the funniest things. It was one of those surprisingly funny things.
It's like, oh no, not his dog.
I know, right? You think maybe that's why Jack Black hasn't had too many big roles?
Maybe
because he kicked that dog in that movie.
That must be the case.
I mean, yeah, he did Kung Fu Panda, but that was just his voice. But he hasn't been on camera in a really
not
long
anything
while.
Super blockbuster.
Yeah.
But you think about that, it's like the audience will turn on you when you hurt an animal, like a cat, a dog, a horse. But we'll cheer on somebody that kills 50 people. No problem.
Yeah, a la John Wick. We don't give a shit how many nameless
people.
Nameless henchmen that he mows through. But yeah, because his puppy got killed, it's like, oh yes, all those people deserve that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, you just reminded me of what I want, something I wanted to bring up. It's sort of related, but only loosely. I don't know if you're familiar with this television series NCIS Los Angeles.
Yeah, I know of it.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, the past few years, they've been getting super woke, and I don't even know why I still watch this show anymore. But it's such woke garbage, And recently, there's painting militia groups, even though no militia group has ever committed or been charged with a crime.
Yeah.
But they paint all malicious groups as bad guys, and and even though they're the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, for some they're I don't know, they have all these woke opinions. I'm not saying that all naval personnel or people within government agencies, like they all lean one way or the other, but it's just like one of them is an ex-Navy SEAL, right? Like I know he's just a character, but like yeah, like continually like the wokest of woke opinions, and it's like and just recently they had this episode about like attacks on Asian Americans.
Yeah.
And it was like so ham-fisted and preachy, talking about like love and acceptance. Like, oh, I can't believe this is the America that we live in. It's like, how can
I can't roll my eyes hard enough already just hearing this description.
Yeah, but anyways, like, yeah. So this former naval officer, he's retired. He was a Vietnam vet, and he's retired, and he's like upstanding pillar of the community. Um, and he volunteers or whatever, and then he gets attacked, right?
Yeah.
And then it's found out that it's like this guy who like I forget but basically a racist white guy is the one that beats him up, and so his son, an LAPD detective, who's supposed whose father taught him better, who taught him discipline, and stayed away from this investigation, and at the end ends up kidnapping this racist guy and his son that beat up his dad, and recorded a confession from him after beating the shit out of him, and then puts it on the internet.
Jesus.
Yeah, and for some reason that is okay. That violence against this racist white person is okay. And at the end, like yeah, it shows like the video going viral and showing, it's like, oh, so that's okay. So if that's okay, but if it was if it was like turned around, let's say that it was actually the demographic that actually does commit the most violence.
No, I can't do that. No.
Towards Asian people, like no, that couldn't be it. That can't happen.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, again, I don't know why I like keep up with this show. It's like utter garbage, and like the utter like sermonizing and like preaching. It's like like because like two of the characters, they're married, and they're trying to have kids, but they can't, and so like they're considering adopting. And it's like oh, well, what if we adopt some kid that's from a different race than us? Like oh yeah, cool. It's like oh well, it's like I don't want to tell them like the culture that it comes from doesn't mean anything, but like where like who am I? Of course they're these two characters are perceived white. And so it's like, oh well, like, but then who, like, how am I supposed to, teach, this kid about his culture that he comes from when I'm not from that culture? And just, I know I know your eyes are like like those slot machine rolls, like there's that's how hard they're rolling back into your head.
Just no, that's not like oh God.
Yeah, again, I don't know why I keep up with this show. Initially, it was because the chick was really hot, but now she's kind of getting up in age. But don't get me wrong, she still looked good. Don't get me wrong, she still looked good.
Like that, I torture myself watching bad movies, but you do the same thing with like some bad shows, dude. That you're torturing yourself. What's going on?
I don't know. I you know what it is? I'm trying to keep up with like what is going on in like kind of like mainstream media. Not news media, but I mean, there's so much I could only take. Like at least they still shoot guns on this.
Oh,
show.
okay. Hey, at least there's still some action.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. At least there's still at least they still shoot guns and there are still explosions in the show. It's not okay. It's not like fucking 13 Reasons Why, that bullshit.
I was just gonna bring that up. It's like you wanna go back to watching 13 Reasons Why and like,
no, I hate that goddamn show. Especially like in the third season, like I saw a promo and they totally went CW.
Oh yeah, they totally
went CW, and like it looks, the trailer that I saw like for this third season, it looked like fucking like it looked like a trailer for Riverdale or whatever.
Oh God. The Just so you know, I did not watch the third season. I didn't torture myself to watch the third season.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
if you decided you wanted to review it, I'd be down. But
Heck no, never. But yeah, but to answer your question of why I watch like crappy shows or like shows with like so much like woke messaging, it's like I need to know what the
yeah,
mainstream is saying,
I agree. I agree.
and it's like because if I just only stuck with uh alternative like entertainment or alternative media, and I own then I'd be guilty of being in an echo chamber the same as uh, how we would accuse the a leftist who only consumes like CNN or just watches like these woke shows and things like that of being in an echo chamber.
You're
I'd
absolutely
be guilty.
You know what? I applaud you, sir, for torturing yourself in that way.
Yeah, cause I mean, because I want to know like what people like how they're portraying. Not even because I don't really even consider myself right. I'm definitely more of an independent. It's
I've definitely
politically,
done that, like more
yeah.
recently. Yeah,
I mean,
I
politically, yeah. I mean, yes, I lean right, but I'm more independent because I'm not, I'm not saying I can never vote for a Democrat. I just can't vote for any Democrat right now.
no, nobody currently on the Democratic Party do I have any sort of interest in.
Right, exactly. So, yes, but so that's why I watch shows like this. So I know like what they're think how they think, what they think of, you know, more, independent thinkers such as myself. Um, I need to know like how they're painting the other side. It's just like, I mean, as much as I don't like it, I mean, I don't want, as much as I laugh at how, the left is portrayed in, even shows like that lean marginally to the right, like Last Man Standing with Tim Allen.
Yeah,
It's like
a show I like.
a show I like, but I dare say that it's at least fair to people of, on the left.
Yeah, it gives their
It
viewpoint too.
exactly, it gives their viewpoint. It's balanced.
And sometimes like it even ends up as like, hey, you know what? They were right in that sense.
Right.
Or vice versa. It's like, hey, like that person that was like more conservative, like, you know what? They were right. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually like that Last Man Standing is actually a very balanced show.
Yes, it is. And I'm really bummed out that it got canceled.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, and so so it's like I don't want to say enemy, but it's like that's why I watch those woke shows. It's like to know what the enemy is thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of a, you know what? I applaud you, sir. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
I
mean,
think I do sometimes the same thing with movies that kind of have that messaging too. I'm like, oh
mhm.
God, why did I torture myself this way? But I do it anyways. It's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, and I mean, interestingly enough, another well, not another, but another show that I actually follow is The Rookie with Nathan Fillion, and
Oh,
even though they have woke messaging, it's somewhat more palatable.
well, we've always said like I don't care like what the message is of the movie. Just
Mhm.
don't give me a shit story.
That actually that's actually true because the stories on this show, The Rookie, is actually pretty compelling.
Yeah, like you said,
Because especially the premise is really interesting too because it's like this middle-aged guy who his marriage falls apart and he has like one of those kind of epiphany moments like kind of like, oh, this is what I should be doing the entire time. He kind of helps more or less thwart a bank robbery, and so like he kind of gets that spark, and he then decides to go and join the police department.
yeah,
And it's like the first couple of seasons are just like him, the title of the show is ironic because he's an old man, but he's starting out as a rookie police officer.
right.
And so it's like him like kind of learning the ropes and kind of and also kind of dealing with like the discrimination of being an old man in a young man's kind of profession or at a young person's start in a career. Um,
Right.
but yeah, and there's some woke messaging stuff, but yeah, it's not as it's more palatable and it's not as heavy handed as some other shows.
Right. Well, when we Predestination, it's the same thing. Like that's a
Ugh.
very
Exactly. I mean, this was
progressive,
before, and that movie came out just a little bit before they started getting
crazy with it.
kind of flagrant with it, and just kind of what is it? Uh, Putting the message like straight in your face, like without any kind of subtlety. Um, but yeah, I mean, I got I was able to, and I'm glad I saw Predestination later when I was able to finally see the spells in a lot of media, and Predestination had a lot of spells in it. I tell you what, you had the transgender spell, you had the well, I mean, I think that's the biggest. I think the transgender spell was the biggest thing in that movie. But it was an interesting story that they were telling, and it wasn't that the whole transgender spell was like front and center of that movie. It was about this agent that that was tasked to set these things in motion for the continuing existence of what I believe is the continuing existence of said agency. Uh, but
But like I
but
said, it's a fun. The reason why it works is because I don't care like what I really, to be honest, I don't care what the politics of a movie are. I don't care what politics of the actors are, but just don't give me a bullshit story. Where it's like the only reason like you're making a movie is because we gotta get this woke message out. That to me is an insult. If you want to
right,
tell,
that's assuming your audience is stupid and isn't. That's why I don't. I hate that. I hate when they keep saying that. Oh, we need to bring awareness. It's like, bitch, how much more aware do we have to be? It's like plastered on every billboard, on every bus, bus bench, it's constantly on television round the clock. How much more awareness do we need?
I watch when I watch movies like In the Heat of the Night or Predestination. Those are like the message that's being promoted in those movies is a very progressive message. And but you're not giving me a bullshit story. I'm intrigued. I want to watch the movie more, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I love the characters. I love the story, and I'm invested. But the worst thing that you can do to me is give me a terrible story with like no plot, no nothing. That's to me that's an insult for an
Right?
audience
Yeah,
member.
that's offensive. Because again, it's taking your audience for granted. It's like it's telling your audience that that you're a moron.
Yeah,
Like, and that's
like
why we have to make this message so overt because you're too stupid to get it yourself.
people who are left leaning and right leaning shouldn't stand for that. Like don't give me bullshit. Like and to be honest, there's probably like movies that are more right leaning where like that's their only like we're just putting this super right leaning like message in the movie and like we don't really care about your intelligence. Like don't give me that either. I
Right.
don't
I think that's why particularly Christian movies and
Oh,
uh,
don't get me started on like those terrible Christian movies. Like,
yeah, I
oh,
know, but I think that's what people think of, like, when they think of like right wing media. It's like that's what they think of.
I
It's like
hate
it's
those
like
movies
like
with
in your kind of the same criticism I have for these woke TV shows where like their messaging is so blatant and so like right there, like spelled out for you. It's like I think that's what a lot of people on the left perceive as right wing media, is that it's just like so heavy handed, and it's like like the message is so like obvious.
I think that's probably why I hate like some of those like kind of super traditional Christmas movies too, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, oh, it's we had to have this like great like Christmas miracle, like, kind of like craziness. Like, that is kind of more of like a right-leaning message, I suppose. And I hate those movies because they're not. It's not. They're not good.
Right.
When I look at like a movie like, was it like, Passion of the Christ, which we reviewed on this show. That one to me is like, it wasn't trying to send a specific message. It was just trying to tell the story of what Christ went through, and it was a great movie. It's a very tough movie to get through. It didn't sugarcoat anything. Whereas,
I totally get the message of that movie. It's all the Jews' fault.
Jesus Christ. But like that's not like your typical Christian movie. Like it's where it's like everything works out, and if, like, we just pray hard enough, like everything's gonna work out just fine. It's like, no, that's not real life. One thing that I always something that a guy that I do respect quite a bit, like with his screenwriting prowess, is Andrew Clavin, who he's done quite a few movies, and he's a Christian guy, but the way that he writes, it's not like, it's definitely right leaning. He's a Christian. He has that bent, but he's like, you know what? People do have sexual affairs. They do curse. They do these things, but like they're still like, they make bad choices, but they're still good people, and they might still even be Christian. So it's like that's real life. There are good characters that make bad decisions and make bad choices, and there's even like enemies that are terrible people, but they sometimes do good things, and that's kind of the world that we live in. And you can't just we don't live in a black and white world.
Would you dare say that life is nuanced?
Oh God, I hate that word, but yes, you are right.
I know.
Oh, that word.
I know you hate that word, but it applies in this. It applies to this conversation right now.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Life is very nuanced, and we've talked about this in several different arenas. When we talked about the Civil War, it's like, the Union wasn't all that good either, but the Confederate wasn't all bad. And you look at stuff like the Ken Burns documentary on the Civil War, or you just look at like history in general. Like it's a very tough thing. It's not everyone from the Confederacy was fighting to like keep slavery, because a lot of the people that were fighting didn't own slaves, but they didn't. They were fighting for something different, and the Union was not. That is a myth that they were always fighting to end slavery. That is not what they were fighting for. Not until like about like a year and a half before everything ended.
Right. Yeah, the whole fighting to end slavery thing, that was more of a PR thing at the end.
Which is fine. Like, I'm not saying, like, I was like, I'm glad that they fought for that. That's great.
Kind of like the war on terror. It's like, we're gonna get Osama bin Laden, and they're like, oh, weapons of mass destruction.
I'm very conflicted about like all that stuff. Like, because there's no end goal to that war. There's no reason. It was just like, oh, well, we need to battle these people. It's like, well, no, we need to have an objective.
Trying to kill my father.
Yeah, I'm Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. You must.
Oh no. Well, I was referencing Dave Chappelle, because he did like the skit like Black Bush.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
He's like why are we invading Iraq? It's like man, trying to kill my father.
Yeah. Jesus, that's so true. But yeah, and we kind of trailed off of the Fauci stuff, but like it's just the same thing. Like, the guy is gonna get away with all these terrible things that he's done, that he knows he's been a part of.
Right, but he's gonna get away with murder and get charged with jaywalking.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's the analogy. Yeah, he's gonna get away with murder, but gonna be charged with jaywalking.
And it just like I mean, yeah, if he loses his position, which I'm like, okay, great, yeah, I'm okay with that. But like, it doesn't feel satisfying because he didn't get ousted for what he deserves to be ousted for.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more.
But that's all I got to say about the Fauci stuff. Like I'm, we're still learning about like everything that's going on. It's still a progressing story.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really hope that. I mean, I know it's horrible sounding, but I really hope more stuff like starts coming to light.
Yeah, I do too. I
I mean,
mean,
well, yeah, like I mean, even just recently with like that letter that someone from the NIH dropped, like basically confirming that Fauci lied during his congressional hearing about like, oh, we did not fund it. It's like this, a letter came out recently just saying like, yes, we funded it.
well, yeah.
So yeah,
It's like
again, and that should be
welcome to the
huge
party,
news.
pal. It's like welcome to the party,
Yeah,
pal.
but that also should be huge news, but it's like it got very little attention.
Yeah, I mean this is what Rand Paul's been talking about for a long time. Like he's the
Yeah.
only one that has come out and he's actually like filed charges against Fauci. He's
Mm-hmm.
and he's the only one that's been calling this guy out from day one,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that he's full of shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if Trump were not to run, and Rand Paul got the nomination somehow, I'd vote for him. I like him.
I vote for him too because I don't agree with all his policies, but the guy has a fucking backbone for one,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, he's I like I can count on my fingers the number of like politicians that I feel actually have some sort of backbone and stand for something.
Mm-hmm.
Rand Paul is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the guy, like, he's the only one that stood up against Fauci, like, knowing that he's full of shit. He doesn't know anything. And all of his policies have been terrible. And he's called him out on, like, yeah, you've been funding this stuff. Yet you've been telling Congress that you're not involved with any of it. Yet all the evidence shows that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And you have lied to Congress, which is a felony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. Right. But again, yeah, most likely he's gonna get away with murder and get charged with jaywalking.
Well, it's
But either way, if those poor animals that died in the name of science are the thing that finally bring this guy down, so be it.
yeah. I mean, another ghoul's gonna take his place, but it's
Yeah, but at least now I hope people are like more aware and they'll potentially take a more active interest in how our money's being spent and not just be kind of stick do the ostrich thing and stick your head in the stands like, oh no, like, yeah, I'm sure the government's using our money wisely.
yeah. I mean, that's the hope. My God,
Mhm.
I just
Yeah, if anything, I hope this is like kind of like a wake up moment for a bunch of people, for a lot of people.
I've this is getting to that point. Like I it's not that I'm not saying that like all these like government programs are not necessarily a bad thing.
Mhm.
Because I think like some things like they do good. I mean, people abuse them obviously, but there's some things that I think the government funds that is a good thing, but the majority of stuff is just really
Right.
awful. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean, I understand. Like, I know people think like I'm a horrible monster, but I understand the reasoning for like welfare, but I think there should be tighter controls for it. Like maybe like drug tests.
I am all for like taking care of our people who are disabled, like like permanently disabled people. Our veterans that are permanently disabled.
Mhm.
elderly people who can't take care of themselves, some of them don't have family either. And
Right.
if
Yeah. Exactly.
and I want to be a country that does take care of those people. I think that's a good, honorable thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that fraudulently try to take that money for themselves. You have politicians that are trying to take money away from us to fund to give money back to their friends or these special interest groups,
Or
which
fund countries that literally hate us.
yeah, that want to destroy us. But hey, let's give them $1 billion. They'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, of course, I'm fine with helping people, but I want strings attached. That's all I'm saying. I want strings attached.
It's funny. Like my dentist, he's Iranian. He's like, fuck. Why are we giving money to Iran? They hate us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
my country for a
yeah,
reason.
like why are we giving a country that hates us and is actively working to create weapons to destroy us?
Yeah, it's like I left Iran for a fucking reason. It's not. I don't want to give them more
Based
money.
Iranians, you know.
I'm telling you, my dentist is awesome. He's great.
Yeah.
He's one of us.
Nice.
It's just this is the Jimmy Carter, the revenge. This is what the administration that we have right now.
Yeah.
Everyone is awful.
Yeah, this is good. Like this is like a repeat, but then also like a sequel to. This is what the second term of Jimmy Carter would have looked like.
Yeah, this is Jimmy
Carter
Carter.
beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. Well, did you know they're also coming out with another documentary on Amazon about what's his face, the Pete Buttigieg.
Why?
Because he's he's revolutionizing whatever the fuck he's revolutionizing, which is nothing.
He literally sticks his ding dong in a poop chute. How the hell am I ever supposed to take that guy seriously?
I know.
Or he allows some other man to stick their ding dong in his poop chute. Either way, how the hell am I supposed to take him seriously?
I'm not 100% convinced he's gay. I think he's just playing a gay person. But yeah, still, I don't take him seriously.
Yeah, how am I supposed? Yeah, either one of those situations is happening, and then so how am I supposed to take him seriously? He either sticks his thing in another man's poop chute, or he allows some other man to stick their thing in his poop chute.
He's also probably the most radical person in that administration. Like his father was one of the people that was pretty big in as far as the Communist Party and kind of a lot of their the Communist Party in America, their ideals. He wrote a whole bunch of stuff that's just Jesus Christ, this is awful. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's illegal to be a communist in America, but of course the communists have gotten smart, and they no longer call themselves communists. They call
we're socialists.
We're democratic socialists. That's how they get around it.
Because, like I said, when we were going through for my wife, all the immigration stuff, one of the questions that they asked, have you been, or have you ever been associated with the Communist Party? So it's still a question. It's still illegal in America, which is a great thing because the Communist Party is awful. Everyone knows it's awful, but we have people in our government today that think that it's okay, and they are infiltrating the government just like they were back when, back in the early 20th century, back when they, we had the McCarthy trials, which he was right. For I know people, that's an unpopular opinion, but the guy was right, and to be honest, didn't even go far enough. He it just I really, if you really want to learn about who McCarthy really was, I really highly recommend you find it's somewhere. I think it's on BitChute now, but you find Seven Molyneux's small documentary on McCarthy, it is revolutionary. Let me tell you, because that guy was right.
Oh, yeah,
It will
yeah.
change your world. It's 3 hours. It is so informative. It is.
Yeah, I watched it too. It was very detailed.
It scared me
Mm-hmm.
because because everyone's like, oh, McCarthy is this evil bastard, and it's like, no, he wasn't.
Yeah,
No, he
McCarthy
wasn't.
was right. McCarthy was right, and he did it. Yeah, he didn't. He should have finished them off.
And the way that they treated that guy afterwards, like he ended up in a mental institution and died. I mean, that's how like he was treated very terribly.
Mm. That's horrible.
But anyways, let's get to Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin?
Weren't we going to talk about the Alec Baldwin, like him?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Fauci thing kind of got off the rails. But yes, Alec
we,
Baldwin. If you're not aware, Alec Baldwin killed himself. Or not.
we don't
Not.
have
I
much.
wish. Just kidding. No, Alec Baldwin accidentally shot somebody. This happened like just before the weekend, I believe, or news broke on Friday. I remember. Yes,
Yeah, this
it broke
was
on
a
Friday.
fairly recent news story.
What? Take over. I'm gonna go use the little boys' room.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so the story is that Alec Baldwin I don't know what they were shooting for. I'd have to look that up. But on set, like there was a supposed prop gun, and he there's conflicting rumors about like what happened. Like if he was like practicing like drawing the weapon, and there was ammunition in it, and he ended up firing on people. There's also a story that he was kind of joking around with the gun and said that like, oh, and like there was some like edits being made to like the filming. Is like, like why don't I just shoot you guys? Like not in a serious manner, but he was joking around, and he pulled the trigger, and there wasn't like blanks in there. There was actually live ammunition, and I don't know which of those stories is true or which, but like the reality is a couple people were shot. I think one was injured, another one died, and it's one of those things where I'm like, there's a few questions that I have. For one, I'll start. Well, one, I'll start with this. Like, I don't care what when you have a gun in your hand, you need to. Well, people don't really. You need to have some control. You don't point a gun, loaded or not, at anybody, and you sure as fuck don't like have your hand on the trigger. You have to have some like trigger discipline. Don't put your hand on the trigger. You hold it off to the side. When you want to shoot somebody, that's when you squeeze the trigger. And the fact that like obviously, like when you're in a movie, you're shooting blanks. That's a different story. Like it is. That's kind of like an exception to the rule because you're shooting like you're shooting blank bullets. Like there's no, it's still dangerous, but it's not like you're actually shooting live bullets. But the fact that like there's this scenario where you're pointing a unloaded gun at somebody, like when you're not filming anything, what the fuck are you doing, dude? That's one.
Well, let me. I'll add some context because I've been reading up on this. So Alec Baldwin, he's on. It was like an independent production, but he's like also executive producer for this movie called Rust. It's kind of like a biopic because it's about this old time like gunslinger whose grandson is ironically enough tried for the wrongful murder of some people. This was like the actual like story, so this is like kind of like a biopic.
Okay.
But anyways, and so yeah, what is it? So this production has been fraught with safety issues. Like
That's right.
supposedly there was like 3 different misfire incidents on set. And they're like, and yeah, there are crew members like literally quitting over just like the rampant violations of safety protocols.
Yeah.
There's also trouble because what was it? I guess because I think yeah, it's because it's an independent production. There's no like big studio behind it. Um, they didn't pay for any of the crew members to stay at any local hotels like or near the shooting area, near the filming site. So the crew at the end of the day would have to drive 50 miles uh, to the nearest city to get to their hotels. And sometimes shooting sometimes doesn't wrap until like 4 a.m. The following morning. You could have a 24-hour day. 4 a.m.
Yeah.
to 4 a.m. and you have to like drive back 50 miles to get to sleep, only to come back again, sometime, um, later that day. So yeah, so there's the protection has been a nightmare. But getting back to the incident in hand, so apparently there was this kind of rookie armor that they hired, um, and uh, and and it apparently went through like the gun went through several different hands. It went from the armorer to like the AD to I think the director, and then finally into so at least three other people other than Alec Baldwin handled this gun, and not, I mean, not one of, I mean, other than the armorer, none of them like stopped to check the weapon themselves to make sure everything was kosher. Um,
Yep.
and so it was passed off from the armor to the assistant director to possibly the director to Alec Baldwin, and it was called the cold. They called it out. It's like, oh, cold gun coming on set, and cold gun. I guess is just industry lingo saying like, oh, it's filled with blanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's like the assistant director didn't stop to check it. I mean, again, I don't know if the director ever handled it, but potentially the director also handled it. And then Alec Baldwin didn't check it when he got it,
Yeah.
and so there's like the chain of custody just in that brief period, no one checked it. What is it? Just recently, it was revealed that this armorer, really hadn't had too much experience. Um, she only got the job because she had worked with her father, who who actually is an armorist or an armorer for like movies and things like that. Um, and so she got, and it's as a young woman, and she probably got the job based on the reputation of her father. Um, and then also it was revealed that the guns used on the set, when they weren't being used during filming, were the crew would use them for target practice. They would use it to shoot like cans and shit like that. And yeah, and then again, more was revealed, and it turns out live rounds were kept on set.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm not saying that this was something that was nefarious that was done, like, because to me, like, I think it was I don't think Alec Baldwin did anything like on purpose, like to kill anybody. Like, I don't
Right?
think
Yeah. This wasn't
I'm not.
intentional or
No,
malicious.
I don't think that at all. Yeah, he's a dick,
Mm-hmm.
but like he's not a murderer. I wouldn't call, like, I wouldn't even, like, I don't think he's at fault at all, other than just being foolish and just like, you don't point a gun at anybody and pull the trigger. I mean, that's gun safety 101.
Yeah. Yeah. Rule number one: always assume that the gun is loaded.
Bingo.
And always check for yourself.
Yeah, you always check for
Yeah.
yourself.
Always. Yeah.
And even if it is unloaded, you don't point a gun at somebody.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Keep the barrel pointed down, finger off the trigger. only point at something that you wish to destroy.
Yeah. The and I don't know if this is something that was like because there's all these safety issues that were on set, people walking off,
Mm.
and I don't know if this is something that was maybe like someone had malicious intent, where like you
Well,
know what, I'm gonna leave a live round in there.
well, there was a Blue Anon conspiracy theory about how I forget who it was, but some blue check mark basically put the question out there on Twitter. Is like, what if a Trump sympathizer
Oh, Jesus.
was on set and put live rounds into it to make
Oh,
Alec,
Jesus.
as revenge to take revenge on Alec Baldwin for all of his Trump
Oh my
impersonations on SNL.
No, I that's it.
Yeah.
That is that is exactly like what the left accuses the right of doing. That's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, but I'm not going to that extent. But like, you have somebody that's like is pissed off with like the safety. It's like, well, I'll show you, like why like this set is unsafe,
Mhm.
and you leave a live round in there, and it's like, okay, well let's see how like really unsafe this is, and this is what happens. But to be honest, I really don't think that that's the case. That just doesn't seem like because Alec Baldwin like is not he's not a good guy. He's actually really real dick.
Yeah,
Especially like
and known for his temper.
exactly where like did Alec Baldwin kind of piss somebody off where it's like, oh, you know what, fuck you, dude, I'm gonna leave this like live round in there just to prove a point to you and see how things are. I don't think that that's the case, but there's an argument for it. There might be, but based on
I'm more of the opinion that this was just like incompetence and negligence.
that's where I'm going to. I think that's a more like competent explanation
Yeah.
because there's all these safety like problems on this set, and you have these idiots that are like, yeah, okay, there's live rounds on set, and they've been like, on the downtime they're shooting guns, which is fine. That you go for it. That's all. That I'm all for it. But you better fucking empty that gun and put have the blanks somewhere else where you put the blanks in because this to me feels like the fucking Crow, where it's like at this
Yeah.
horror.
Although, yeah, but that one wasn't. What was it? Like the shell didn't clear right, and so parts of the shell got into the barrel, which the next blank is the one that sent those like kind of like shrapnel out, which killed Brandon Lee.
Yeah,
I think that's how that went down.
was
But
that
yeah,
how
these
that?
were
Okay, it wasn't like it was like because there's a lot of reports that like, in that case it was a live round that like got like kind of put in with the blanks.
right. Well, no, like yeah, my understanding was that it was just like I think like the casing material was like compromised or like inferior in some way, and so like when after like that one was expended, like it didn't clear, and so parts of it were still in the bullet, and then when the next one it acted like an actual gun and sent those fragments like
Oh
shrapnel.
shit!
And yeah, but
Damn, that's
as opposed to this incident where yeah, it was actually like live rounds.
yeah. Like this is like one of those things where it's like, man, like because I automatically when I heard this story I was like, oh shit, this is like The Crow.
Yeah, no,
It's
I had the same thought. I had the same thought.
and I to be honest, I don't think there's been anything since The Crow that this like something like this has happened.
Yeah, or at least not like reported, like or at least
Not
high, or at least high profile.
yeah, nothing to this extent. Yeah, that's the but that's the first story I thought of was like, oh shit, this is like The Crow, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's where my mind went too.
And like I said, I don't. Alec Baldwin is not a murderer, so people like that are saying, oh, he's a murderer. And all this, stop. Like he's not. He that guy is. I've seen like his like he put out statements. He's talked like he is devastated. He really is. So don't call, yeah, he's a dick, but he's not a murderer, and he feels awful.
Yeah.
So
Although that I still enjoy the Schadenfreude, especially when that one tweet of his came back to bite him in the ass.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, where it's like yeah after like yeah I think it was in like Long Beach, some cop like inadvertently killed like a suspect or something.
Yeah.
Like I think it was I think it was a misfire. Like he wasn't intending to shoot it, but then something like the gun went off.
Don't get me wrong. This is karma like up the ass, which he
Yeah,
does.
and then after that incident, Alec Baldwin tweeted, I wonder what it feels like to wrongfully like what was it? Yeah, I wonder how it feels to wrongfully or inadvertently kill someone.
Yeah.
And so,
well, now he knows.
Yeah.
Because he
God,
definitely did.
the universe or God, he obliged you. He obliged you, Alec. He obliged you.
And which I feel bad for the guy because like he's never gonna be the same after that. Like that, when you kill somebody, like that never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And
but I heard that he might be charged with something because since he is a producer.
Yeah, well, like I
on
said,
the film, so
this goes back to the safety issue. Like you do not load it or unload it. You do not point a gun at somebody and pull the trigger. You're not. Everyone like vilifies the NRA and stuff like that, but like they are not a terrible organization.
And no member of the NRA has ever killed anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least high profile. Like they're like all these shootings or whatever is not done by NRA members.
It's just like it's not. You never ever point a gun at somebody and pull the trigger, loaded or unloaded. If you point a gun at somebody, your intention is to kill them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not as though this is the first role in which Alec Baldwin used a gun. He's done many a movie where he handles a weapon. So he's had the talk. He's had the training about how to handle firearms and whatnot. So it's not so this isn't his first rodeo. Like he knows the rules.
So it really is a horrible tragedy. I feel for the people that are affected, like the families of like the person that was killed and the person that was injured. It's really awful, and I hope that they find some semblance of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Baldwin's not a murderer, but he's
a dick, but not a murderer.
He's a dick, not a murderer, and he really did something stupid. With it's manslaughter like would be like the worst case possibly, but I don't think he's gonna get that. I don't.
Yeah, if anything, he'll probably get negligent homicide, and you have to do like community service.
Yeah, it just the whole thing is a horrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just, man, I just really feel for the people that got hurt in that scenario. Like they didn't. It's just a real bad tragedy.
Yeah.
And this is but like it goes back. This is where gun safety is important. You don't need to ban guns, but you gotta. These people have to learn. You don't point like no person from NRA teach the NRA and a lot of people who are gun enthusiasts know safety. You don't point a gun, loaded or unloaded, at somebody. It definitely you don't pull the fucking trigger. You have to have some trigger discipline, for one, and it's just there. It's just this is just 101. This is the basics of the basic. You just don't do that, and this is the thing that bothers me because it's going to be another discussion. That's another thing that's used like, oh, guns are terrible, blah blah. All the people that like guns are horrible. It's like, no, they're not. They are a tool, but they're a dangerous tool. You have to use.
Yeah, I mean, a hammer is a dangerous tool. A hammer could be used to kill, or it could be used to build a house. It's all on the attention. It's all on the attention. You know.
Exactly. Like, I mean, the gun. Yes, a gun is a very lethal tool. Like, it can either defend my life or I can like just inexplicably steal someone's life. You know, that's that. I mean, that's its purpose. Am I defending myself or am I just trying to steal someone of their life?
Yeah, I mean that's what I don't understand. Like that talking point when they say, "Oh, well, these are weapons designed to kill." It's like, yeah,
Oh shit.
no shit. It's like a back scratcher is used to scratch backs.
Yeah, big. Exactly.
Yeah, an umbrella is designed to keep rain off you. Obvious, It's like so. It's like this that argues like, yeah, these are weapons designed to kill. It's like, yes, they are.
These are
And
weapons of war. It's like,
right. And
okay.
so yeah, and therefore, thus, what's your point?
Yeah. But I really do pray for like those families that were affected. To be honest, I kind of pray for Alec Baldwin too because like that's a tragedy on his life too. I really don't think he meant to take those people's lives. Was he negligent? Was he stupid? Absolutely. But I don't really feel that he didn't do it on purpose. But I pray for that guy because he's hurting too. I don't like him, but he deserves our prayers.
Yeah,
He
compassion.
deserves our sympathy.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like this, like Alec Baldwin is gonna receive the compassion that he himself has never extended to anyone else.
And I to be honest, I hope this is a lesson for Alec Baldwin, and he becomes a better person because of this.
Yeah, him and his fake Spanish wife.
Yeah, that's right. Jesus.
Hey, yeah, I feel bad for the guy, but that I feel bad for the guy, but that doesn't mean I'm letting him off the hook that easy.
No, fuck, dude, I totally forgot about that. That's yeah, his wife is not.
Yeah.
She has
Supposedly, yeah, she has all this white privilege, and yet she pretended to be a brown person. I mean,
just like
I don't know. Just like who?
she's the female Carlos Mencia.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He's again. I mean, yes, he is Latin and of Hispanic descent, but only like half. Like he's not even
Barely.
Mexican. Yeah, he's not even half Mexican. He's Honduran he's Honduran and German.
Yeah, it's like barely.
Yeah, barely. Just he does not pass the paper bag test. That's all I'm gonna say.
To be honest, he's more Latin than Alec Baldwin's wife is. But that's
that's for sure. Absolutely.
Oh,
like, God, how you say the word cucumber?
God, I totally forgot about that story. Dear God. Oh man, that's great.
Like, how you say word cucumber?
So insulting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jesus. But that's all I got to say about that.
It's a culture, not a costume. Hilaria Baldwin.
Yeah. Oh, I had this whole like serious like point of like let's be kind to our enemies, and Andy just totally destroyed that. And you know what? I don't care.
Hey, you can still show compassion by laughing at people.
That's true.
Right? I'm actually being more kind because I'm treating them no differently than before this tragedy.
Exactly.
I'm not treating them any differently. Yes, I'm extending some compassion, but I'm treating them no differently than before all this tragedy.
I'm still praying for the guy, but I'm definitely gonna make fun of him.
Exactly. Right.
But that's all I got to say about Alec Baldwin. It's just hopefully we'll figure out what's gonna happen with that story. That's another story that's still being investigated, and we'll definitely find out more. But that's all I got to say about it right now.
Yep. Yeah, we'll keep you posted, I guess. Or at least with our thoughts, with our commentary.
Bingo. That's exactly it.
All right. Well, yeah, it's that time of the stream where we will get into our movie review.
My favorite time of Tuesday.
Yes.
Give your synopsis. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
All right, for sure. Yes. Again, what is it? It is yeah, our movie review. Again, we're closing out Bond month with Casino Royale, the inaugural Bond movie starring Daniel Craig. Let me hit y'all with the synopsis and we'll get going. After receiving a license to kill, British Secret Service agent James Bond heads to Madagascar where he uncovers a link to Le Chiffre, a man who finances terrorist organization. Learning that Le Chiffre plans to raise money in a high-stakes poker game, MI6 sends Bond to play against him, gambling that their newest 00 operative will topple the man's organization. Yes. As stated earlier, this movie is actually based off of Ian Fleming's book of the same title.
So this is like you're correct on that. That is on Ian Fleming's first novel. When we first started our Bond month, I was telling like when Ian Fleming sold he sold the movie rights to his books, except for Casino Royale, and I forget which other one he didn't sell. But so Casino Royale was a movie that like the Eon Productions really wanted to make, and was not able to do it until this movie. So this is actually like the first. We obviously we have the comedy spoof 67, also titled Casino Royale, that has Peter Sellers, David Niven, Woody Allen, Ursula Andress, Orson Welles. But which I'm actually very intrigued to watch just based off of that cast list. But this is like the actual adaptation of Ian Fleming's first novel, and so it was kind of like, oh man, and this is actually the first time they've got back to stories influenced by Ian Fleming's novels, because it's the first one since
right. Because you told me or you said on before that the Pierce Brosnan era were completely original stories.
Completely original. Like, so this is the first one since The Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton that had anything to do with anything related to Ian Fleming's novels. And when they were casting this, hold on a second, let me pull up my notes here. Actually, the funny thing is, Pierce Brosnan was initially gonna do this. He was gonna do this film, and but
they could close it out.
Yeah, he was actually gonna do this movie, but then he decided to end up stepping down in like 2004, and so they after Die Another Day, because this is another like large gap between movies, because this is a 4-year gap. Which is kind of unusual. Like we talked about this in the last stream with GoldenEye, there was a 7-year gap. Because usually like Bond movies are made within like about 2 or 3 years of one another. So anything longer than that is kind of like a lot. Initially, they some of the casting was Henry Cavill was one of the ones that was considered for the role, which he's actually the people Eon, they tend to go when they're doing casting for Bond, sometimes like when a new Bond is coming up, they'll go back to who they like were looking at beforehand. That happened with Timothy Dalton. That happened with Roger Moore. That happened with Pierce Brosnan. And I think the same thing's going to happen with Henry Cavill. I really feel like, to be honest, I think that he would be the perfect Bond to come back to. I think that's going to happen. I really hope that he becomes Bond because he'd be perfect. But they ended up settling on Daniel Craig. As far as, like I said, this is like kind of going back to basics. They're going back to Ian Fleming's novels, his first one. They're doing it right. This is another movie that doesn't have a money penny, doesn't have Q, doesn't have like some of like the staples. It's really kind of like the raw beginnings of James Bond.
Yeah. In a way, this is kind of like in the Batman comics where they did like year one, but this is like James Bond year one.
Bingo, yeah. And
And interestingly enough, I didn't know that Pierce Brosnan was supposed to do this movie, but it's interestingly that the director is actually Martin Campbell, who actually did the first Brosnan James Bond movie, Goldeneye, which
he did several of the Brosnan ones.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that he did the first Brosnan one. I mean, now learning that he did several of the Brosnan era Bond movies, but I thought it was interesting that he did the first one of the Craig era.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how like Brosnan would have really fit into doing this one, but like I think he would have done okay. I think with it, it being
right.
more.
But I mean, from what your research is, the book Casino Royale, was that an origin story for Bond, or
essentially?
I mean, it's the first story, yeah. But is it in the same? I don't think it's in the same like kind of like origin story format as the movie is. Correct.
No, I'm sure they. To be honest, I've never read Casino Royale, but I'm absolutely sure they took liberties like they did with all of the Ian Fleming novels. So I think they added like some things to it, like kind of adding more of it, more of the grit to it.
Right. No. But, yeah. This is very. I think this was very influenced by the Bourne style. Especially like the fight choreography.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of Bourne influence in here, and from a lot of the interviews that I have listened to concerning Bond, of like a lot of the characters talking about Ian Fleming himself, who was really hard edged, and then from the books, I understand that Bond is kind of he's not a nice guy. So, right. Which Craig is not a nice dude. He is a tough individual.
Yeah, no, like kind of like in the movie, we kind of see like his development becoming into the more iconic James Bond that we're familiar with.
Right.
But yeah, he's like very rough around the edges. He doesn't really know how to dress. He doesn't have that suave sophistication.
No,
just yet. There are hints of it, like in the way that he banters, but not the kind of like the smooth as silk kind of panty melter Bond that we.
Yeah, and he's a rough customer, which I think is much closer to Ian Fleming's version of James Bond. At least initially, like he is a tough customer. He is a hard person who, yes, he has charms at times, but like he's not a nice guy. Like he's not like Roger Moore's Bond. Who's
right,
so
yeah. Roger Moore was like a smoothie, as opposed to Daniel Craig's Bond, who's like, yeah, he just got promoted to 00 status. He's fairly I think fairly new, because I think before he wasn't used as was it as an agent to develop assets and things like that. So you know, he he like his way with the women is very like rough.
Yeah, and I think something that's interesting about this movie is we kind of get like a little bit of an insight into how someone becomes a double O, because when we meet Daniel Craig as James Bond, he's not a double O yet, because you have to kill
The
like.
requirement is you have to have 2 kills.
Right. And it's not just like you go indiscriminately kill people. Like, that's not what it is. Like, you have to go and kill, targets from MI6.
Right. You basically have to assassinate 2 people.
Which makes me like wonder. We see, like, in a lot of these Bond films, we see other agents who are not double O's. Are they double O's in training though, who end up like getting killed per se? Like when we watch Doctor No, there's a British agent who is killed in
Right.
Jamaica. Is he a double O in training though? That's what I wonder.
Well, he could. Yeah, I mean, he could still be an agent, but he could be a lower level agent.
That's what I'm saying. They're not a double O yet, because
Right.
they
And I
haven't.
think, because I mean, I would imagine in spycraft the ultimate goal isn't to kill; it's more uh, to convert. You're trying to so you're or at least from what I would imagine, being a spy is not so much like assassination as opposed to intelligence gathering, and and what's and the best way is to turn somebody to turn them into an asset, to someone, to get them to like give you information constantly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would imagine like someone attaining the double O status, um, either comes from either like killing someone but not necessarily being it like part of the mission, or or it being a mission, because the the guy that Bond kills initially, at least in like kind of like uh, the flashback sequence, it doesn't seem like uh, it was a mission. It seemed like it's just something like the killing was a necessity.
Yes, you're right, because it was a rough kill. Like, it was
Yeah.
not easy at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
like
he was.
maybe like it was more. I think it was more like he was supposed to tail this guy, because the second guy that he kills, he's for sure an assassination. Like he's like for
Yep.
sure like take him out. And I think and he like the guy that he kills in the bathroom, he was, I think, an asset of that other guy that he assassinates. And I think Bond might have been tasked to follow him or keep tabs on him, and maybe Bond got made, and so so that kill in the bathroom seemed like a kill of necessity as opposed to an assigned kill.
Yeah. I think that's accurate. Um,
But once it was found out because he was an agent. So when it was revealed that he was selling state secrets, that was his, that was his final assignment to attain that double O status.
yeah. But it's fun to see that, like, like
Right,
that
because
order is not all from the get go, that he's all smooth and able to
final product Bond.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting beta test Bond.
Yeah. Um, and that's really like where the whole movie is, because M doesn't really trust 007 at all. Obviously, like, after that, I love how like the initial sequence is all done in black and white. Just because, like, that's the past, and we're kind of getting
Right,
it.
and almost kind of uh, what's the word I'm looking but almost kind of like as a representation. It's like his report to M, like kind of like black and white. It's like it's all there in black and white.
Yeah.
So that's like his report. Like that's his report saying like, oh yeah, I killed. I was following this guy. He turns out to be the contact for this guy that we suspect is selling secrets, and he made me, so I had to kill him. And so it's like, okay, so yeah, so this guy is a leak, so go plug him. And then when you do that, you get your 00 status.
Yeah. But then we get into this. We start finding out about this guy who is selling weapons to these various different parties. Lashif, we played by Mads Mikkelsen, who is great.
Yeah, that guy was born to be a Bond villain.
Oh God, he's perfect.
Yeah,
He's
right.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I know like a lot of people like give what's his face? He was Inspector.
Oh, uh,
Christoph Waltz.
who's
Yeah, I know
also
people. Yeah, who's also great and who's also born to play a Bond villain. But I think Matt Mikkelsen gets a little bit outshined, or what is it? Yeah, he kind of gets outshined by Christoph Waltz.
yeah,
But yeah,
certainly.
Matt Mikkelsen, he's also one of those guys that's just born to be a Bond
Oh,
villain.
I loved him, man. He was
Yeah,
great. He's a great Bond villain.
yeah,
And
and I like how like his character's personality was, you know, like there was a nice balance, and then like when he was calm, cool, collected, but like when he was like desperate, like he completely like broke down, like resorted to violence. Before it was just like kind of like kind of subversive ways, like he poisoned James or he was like this kind of he was like a cool customer. But like when he got desperate, that's when the facade kind of dropped, and he revealed like his true self. He was just a thug.
yeah, the one of the things about this movie is the majority of the movie it's a poker game. Like that's really the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the tension lies.
Hmm.
Um, and based off of what we know, like there's Vesper, who is kind of supposedly she works for the British government. She's the financier for James
Yeah,
Bond.
she works for the Ministry of the Treasury Ministry.
Right. You have another character that is like one of James Bond's partner. God, what the hell
Yeah.
is his name?
Well, his character's name was Mathis. But yeah, he was
Mathis.
kind of like the local contact, like fixer type person.
Right. Then you had Felix. And I forget that
Yeah,
actor's name. But he's really great. He's
Jeffrey
really
Wright. Yeah, Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Wright.
Wright. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's some other people that are in there as well, which we were thinking like, wait, were those some of those people part of Spectre? Because there was one
Right,
Japanese
the,
guy
the poker
like,
game, yeah.
later on that's like, wait, isn't that like one of the Spectre guys? you know, that's
Right, but well, I wouldn't believe, because remember at that point, was it Lashif's plan is thwarted because his plan was to basically bet against this airline company because they were coming out with like, or this aerospace company, because they were coming out with like this new plane, and his intention was to blow it up and to basically uh, bottom out their stocks, so
yeah,
that he would make a killing on it. Uh, but Bond thwarted that, and so like he lost all that money, and so this is basically Plan B. So I wouldn't, and given that Spectre I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but judging by Spectre killing him, I don't think they would necessarily try to help him recoup that money.
yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
So,
it won't.
but maybe to still strengthen that idea of the people at the poker table were Spectre members, maybe there were. low level, and so like it wasn't a problem if Spectre took their money because they weren't exactly full-fledged members yet, but
Could be.
they were maybe prospects
Yeah.
to join the organization.
Right. But that's and that's one of those like scenes where it's like, who would ever expected like a poker game could be so tense?
Right. Yeah. It's just like all the like kind of little innuendos um, and banter back and forth between, and it's crazy because even though there are multiple people at that table, but the camera work they just like whenever someone's talking, it's just focused on Bond and Le Chiffre.
Yeah. And I also wonder too, because obviously, like, I think James had it correct when he figured out his tell, but
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that he told the tell to both Mathis and Vesper,
Mm-hmm.
and from what we find out later in the movie, Vesper is not exactly to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Did Vesper somehow pass a message to Lashif that he was James figured out his tell, and that's where he used that to go against Bond, and like that's where he kind of like got him.
Right. I think
Or was
it was Vesper. I think it was Vesper because
yeah,
again,
or was the
because
real
we
tell him bleeding from the eye,
was it.
or was the real tell actually where Bond thought this one thing was the tell, but the real tell was him like bleeding from the eye.
Hmm. I think the bleeding from the eye tell is less likely, just because um, what is it? Well, because they kind of hang a lantern, on that because, when he was having that private game on his yacht, he made that comment. It's like, oh, it's just, I just have a faulty tear duct, nothing sinister.
Okay.
So they hung, so they, yeah, they hung a lantern on that, the eye bleeding thing. But the twitch was more significant because it really he yeah because throughout the game he never really put his finger to his temple, you know but only like at the times where it seemed like he wasn't gonna win,
Right.
or like
Okay.
he didn't have a strong hand.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, we do find. I mean, but back to my original point, but yeah, it's more likely that it was Vesper who leaked it because again, like her fiance or boyfriend was kidnapped by the organization, being held, and like and she was given instructions, hey, uh,
Make sure.
if you don't play ball with us, then we'll send you back your boyfriend in little pieces.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why she didn't uh, give him the extra 5 million to go back in there. I mean, yes, it initially it just seems like James is driven by his ego, saying like, oh no, I definitely could beat this guy. Just give me another chance. But knowing what we know, or knowing what and then watching that scene again, it's like, oh, she's trying to keep him from getting back in there because she's helping Lashif.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I thought. Like, cause this is like the third or fourth time I've watched it. And I was like, I think James is right, and she is definitely holding back. It's not about his ego.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something more to do with like what we find out at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, that really the movie is really focused on that poker game. Which you think is like, oh, this is not going to be a good movie. If you had a movie, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to play poker the most of the movie. That's not a fun Bond movie, but this is. It's a very tense scene
Mm-hmm.
that goes on for quite some time.
Right. I mean, this. I mean, I don't know if it's communicated very well, but this is a poker game that goes on over several days.
Yeah, it's not like
Um,
it's
yeah, it's
they.
not like just one night, all nighter kind of thing. Yeah, it's like the
It's not
game
like the
is.
Hustler where they play like pool for like 48 hours straight.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This
Yeah,
game, this tournament, this poker tournament, is over the span of a few days. Um,
because they
and
have
like they're able to take breaks, and yeah, it's there is action in it, but it's more about the game. Yeah, you have like that moment where Bond goes to uh, spy on Lashif, but then his Congolese business partners who gave him that money to invest in to short that aerospace company come to get their money back. uh, and like there's a diversion, there's like a slight action diversion in there, where Bond takes out those two guys, and then
yeah.
also like kind of like this like the added tension of Bond being poisoned and him having to counteract the poison and keep his heart going.
Oh, that was a great scene.
That was a great, yeah, and just like that, and I love it was like the reason why the little defibrillator machine wasn't working is because one of the leads wasn't attached, and it's just like I was like, huh? He's like, you gotta be kidding me, and he's like calmly tries to reattach it, and like he passes out.
Yeah, Vesper ends up saving him.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, like in the book, it was actually Baccarat that they were playing, but because of the popularity of
Yeah,
Texas,
yeah, they adapted it. Yeah, yeah,
Texas Hold'em instead.
yeah.
Because
Actually,
that,
Texas Hold'em is fun though. Like it's a more exciting version of poker.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I think had they like really like gone with like the full novel, they probably would have been playing Baccarat.
Yeah.
Wait, now is that a type of poker or is that a type of blackjack? Because I'm not really I've never played Baccarat. I don't really know anything about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just going by what I've seen, like, yeah, it's a two-card game, and it might be more similar to blackjack than it is to poker.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was where Baccarat seems more similar to blackjack than poker, but I wasn't really sure.
Mm-hmm.
I might that's I might have to look at like Baccarat and see, try to play that a little bit. I don't know. I don't know anything about the damn game. Outside of like poker, I don't really know a lot about card games.
Yeah. I mean, same.
Yeah, I don't play bridge. I don't play pinochle or any of these like crazy
Although
ass.
I have played gin rummy.
Okay, I have played that. I haven't played that. God, I haven't played that in years.
Yeah. Um, I really I really like the development of the relationship between Bond and Vesper.
Do you think that she actually loved him? I mean, because we know that Bond really loved Vesper, but do you
Right.
think it was mutual? Do you think that she actually loved him?
I, it's hard to say because I want to say like I want to say that at least it was communicated that she had loved him when she stopped wearing that necklace that her boyfriend gave
That
her.
well, that's where my question comes from because she does eventually stop wearing that necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Right,
the
but
point?
is that more of a play to convince him that that she's in love with him? Because
Hmm.
yeah, because the way that it's present, like that necklace is presented is that, or at least the way she plays it off initially, because Bond like says, "Oh, I know what that is," and I know its significance. Um, but God, where was I going with this? Yeah, I think it could have been a ploy for him to like think that she had fallen in love with him and got. Oh yeah, yeah, that's what I think she eventually made it sound like it was a past relationship or like someone like she used to love that died. But it could be that that's her way of letting go. It's like saying, "Oh, this guy's dead," and so like maybe it's her like doing a calculation, saying like maybe it's better for me to be close to Bond and stay alive
Yeah.
than hold out hope that my boyfriend or whatever is still alive.
Right.
So it could have been just a calculation for her survival.
Maybe. Because the thing is, like, this is one of those, like, you're almost a little bit heartbroken in this movie because Vesper's like, we think that uh, what's his face is the one that
Yeah,
betrayed
Mathis.
Bond. Mathis betrayed Bond, which we find out is not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Mathis is actually has been on Bond's side the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's
Right,
actually
and that little that back and forth with Lashif when he said like, "Oh, like your friend Mathis is actually my friend Mathis." That was a ploy to cover for Lind or Vesper.
I think so, and so he with Vesper, obviously Bond had given himself over to like actually like, and he was gonna resign from being a
Mm-hmm.
double O. He's like he wanted to live the rest of his life with Vesper,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he gets betrayed. But I just that it's one of those heartbreaking moments because you were thinking like, okay, everything's good, everything's really nice,
Mm-hmm. And yeah, everything
and
wrapped up nicely in a nice little bow.
yeah, and things are happy, and then all that is ripped away from you because like, oh shit, she betrayed Bond, she betrayed everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I think maybe there's a part of me that thinks she actually did care for Bond, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it was not exactly nothing. Had he saved her, I don't think they would be together.
No, because like how could you trust someone who's like betrayed you and it's been lying to you since they they met.
Right.
There's no more trust in them. So like yeah, if he was able to save her and she lived, then yeah, they would not have been together.
Yeah, I really don't think so. Um, I'm trying to think of another. And well, the other thing that's crazy too is like we're thinking like, oh, Lashif, he's the big bad of the movie. He gets killed like what, like 40 minutes before the movie ends. It's like, wait a second.
Is it 40 minutes? Well, at least like at the least 30, I would say.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He dies like super early. I'm like, what are we gonna do with this?
Right? Yeah,
you know,
no, it's like okay, so the big bad's dead. So roll credits, but it's like no,
yeah,
like there's that yeah, but then like we find we started to get even in the first movie we start get like the little little seedlings of Spectre.
yeah. Well, in that whole scene, like where Bond's being tortured with like he's naked in that chair.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
and getting his nuts whacked. Yeah,
oh, that hurt.
I know. Yeah, like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh god damn, I think everything like yeah, I watched it in the theater, and I think every guy kind of like winced and like
Oh,
kind of like
it,
crossed their legs for
it
some
hurt.
reason.
It hurt.
Yeah. Although it was pretty badass when he was like like he kind of like he diffused that by saying like oh it's like everyone knows that you died scratching my balls. Yeah, right. And it was like and like after every hit, it's like no to the right to the right.
Dude, Daniel Craig is a badass. I just his character was so fun.
Yeah. At least, yeah, that was like a great line.
You
It's
were
like, yeah,
saying,
it's like, yeah,
right.
it's like, hey, it's like, could you help me? It's like, I got an itch. It's like, down there.
Oh, but yeah, this is
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, and I really love like their little nod to like the absurd names that the women had in like the Bond um,
oh yeah,
franchise when he was like reading like kind of like the kind of backstory for his cover as Mr. Beach. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're my secretary, Stephanie Broadchest, and she's like, no, it's like, no, it does not say that. It's like, you just have to trust me on this.
That was a great like little thing that they put in there.
Yeah, little Easter eggs. Yeah, it's like like Pussy Galore or
Pussy Galore, I think is like one of the craziest names.
yeah, I know. It's like
Her character is fun, but that's one of the worst names.
Yeah, Christmas Jones or
God, there's so many bad names.
yeah.
I love Pussy Galore though.
Yeah, Pussy Galore is the best. But yeah, I love that little little Easter egg, giving the nod to like all the absurd women's names.
Right. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
The other thing that we get a great a lot of great action sequences. Obviously, parkour is a huge thing at the time, so we get to see a lot of that.
Oh yeah, the opening chase scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like the ending scene in kind of in Venice, where essentially that building gets destroyed. From what I understand, that was a whole set that they had where they were able to raise it up and lower it through the water.
No way they were going to destroy an actual. I think all of those buildings in Venice are considered historical landmarks because they're so fucking old.
Yeah, and so
there's no way
raise it and lower it to the water. And yeah, that was a great little scene that they action scene that they put together with some practical effects.
Right. Yeah, and again, that kind of a nod to the absurd and exotic deaths that that pretty common in James Bond flicks.
Yeah. But like I said, you also get a lot of that. You see a lot of Bourne influence in this, with the nail guns and you're not using guns. You're using kind of these random things that you find to deflect the enemy and beat them.
Yeah, no, all those those fight scenes the close quarter combat stuff.
Yeah.
You definitely see the influence of the Bourne movies.
Do you think that this Casino Royale? Do you think that this is the best of the Craig Bonds, or is there one that you prefer more than Casino Royale? Because to be honest, Casino Royale is a pretty damn good movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. God, it's hard to say because I really like Skyfall.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I would dare say that I like them equally as much as the other.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, Casino Royale. This is because this is kind of like a reset on Bond. You're kind of going back to the basics. You're going to kind of more of the origin story of Bond.
Right.
It's much more gritty. And the sad thing is he was great in it. Daniel Craig was a really great Bond, but he really didn't like the role. He definitely gave it his all. I'm not saying that he didn't, but I know that he really, towards the end, he really hated playing Bond. And I think
that's what it was. I think it was obvious in Spectre, or at least the kind of the news that's coming out around when that movie was coming out, where it's they basically for them, the studio, to get Craig to do Bond again, they basically have to take 3 dump trucks full of cash. It was will you do it now? It's okay.
Yeah, well, and I think it's the same reason why Connery didn't want to do Bond anymore, because his reasoning was he didn't want to be recognized as Bond and just be typecast as this character. He wanted to do other stuff,
right.
and I understand that. Some actors, he didn't want to be recognized as, oh, it's James Bond. It's no, I'm Sean Connery. I play all, and the next roles that he takes are so different from what Bond was. And I think Daniel Craig has done other stuff besides Bond. People don't realize that. He was in
Mm.
Road to Perdition. He was in Cowboys versus Aliens, which is
I mean, that was post Bond, but yeah, I mean, what is it? Would he have gotten Cowboys and Aliens if he hadn't done Bond? I don't know.
maybe not. I don't know, but he was great.
He was in the remake of Flight of the Phoenix.
I haven't seen that. And maybe he turns, post Bond, he gets like these other roles that are different. That he gets what he wants, and because he's a great actor. I
would dare say, outside of the Bond movies and any prior stuff that he's done, I would say that I enjoyed his performance in Knives Out.
That's right, he's in that. I still have yet to see that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because he actually pretty convincingly affects a Southern accent.
Oh, I'm very interested.
Yeah, think Foghorn Leghorn. But not as ridiculous. Not as ridiculous.
Oh man, now I definitely have to watch this.
Yeah, not as ridiculous though, but he affects it pretty well. Like you think like he was a Southern, he was from the South.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Again, yeah, think Foghorn Leghorn, but not as like ridiculous with like that. I tell you, son, I'm telling you. Not like
but
that.
It's just one of those things where like I look at guys like Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan who really loved the role. Like I mean, they loved it. I mean, right. Hell, Roger Moore played in 7 Bond films, and he loved the role. And I think if he was still alive, he'd still be like, yeah, I was James Bond. I love it. I love that I'm recognized for it. And I think Pierce Brosnan's the same way. Like he loved playing Bond. I mean, he only played in 4 of them, but he loved it. And it's kind of sad when someone doesn't really like playing as the character, where it's like, I'm a better actor than this. And it's like, yeah, but like this is a time-honored franchise that people love, and they love your character in it, like your portrayal of that character. Yeah, you're not Sean Connery, you're not Roger Moore, you're not Pierce Brosnan, you're Daniel Craig, and we love seeing you in this role because you do a great job.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of like Ewan McGregor. He absolutely loved playing Obi-Wan Kenobi in the sequel movie, and like he loved playing characters so much that he's actually coming back for the new Kenobi TV show, and that's I mean I know Alec Guinness was really only in episode 4, and like he's a Force ghost in the subsequent movies in 5 and 6, but all respect to Alec Guinness, but yeah, Ewan McGregor kills it as being young Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He really is great, and
you see the slide into becoming Alec Guinness, in his performance. And and it's totally believable that he, like Ewan McGregor, will become Alec Guinness.
He really did his research and his work on that, and like I said, it's okay, to be like, thought of as a character, because I a lot of people aren't gonna remember that Ewan McGregor was in, The Island or Doctor Sleep or some of these other movies that he's done,
or hell, even Trainspotting.
Yeah, they're
which
not
which arguably was jump started his career.
There's a lot of people that are not going to remember those roles, but you know what? They're gonna revere and remember him. It's like, you played Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're awesome, man. Like, you're great, and that's nothing to like sneer at. We look at like a movie I look at that is like Galaxy Quest. You have these a lot of these characters who like, oh god,
yeah, they utterly disdain their work on that show.
Exactly, but like in reality, it's like people are coming in droves because they love your character. They love your portrayal of that character. They know that you're an actor. They understand that yes, you've done all these other things, but like the character that they felt like so connected to is this character, and that's why they revere you. Um, and yes, like Alec Guinness has been in like a bunch of like these fantastic movies that
Yeah,
it's
like these
kind of criminal.
epics.
It's really criminal that like he's only remembered as being played as being Obi-Wan Kenobi, but
Yeah,
like
and
his
interestingly enough, like he kind of resented the being only known for that role too.
and you know what, to be honest, like knowing his resume, I'm like, yeah, it's really criminal that that's all he's remembered for, because he is a lot of heavy hitting movies where I'm like, The Bridge Over the River Kwai is one of those movies like this is brilliant acting. um he's great in that movie. But there's all these other great movies he's in that like no one remembers. It's like, fuck, dude, like he really has a great resume.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the resentment that he has,
Mm-hmm.
but then these other characters, like Daniel Craig does not have a huge resume. He has some good roles. He's done some good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but you're Bond, man. Like that's you can hang your hat. Like I've done. People will always remember me because I played this character. That's something that like you shouldn't sneer at that.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, I know he. I know. Yeah, I mean, kind of like the same thing with Harrison Ford. Like, you know, you know, he he ended up hating uh, playing Han Solo so much that he really wanted to die in Episode 6. Um,
That's another instance where I kind of get it, because look at Harrison Ford's career. He has played so many great iconic characters.
mm,
He's been Indiana Jones. He's been his character from American Graffiti. He's played in The Fugitive. He's been Jack Ryan in like the Tom Clancy, like he's been like Patriot Games.
right, right. Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah, I mean he's been all in all these like great roles that like I think a lot of people are. Obviously he's always going to be remembered as being Han Solo, which he.
No, no, no. He'll always be Han Solo to the
Well, he will
fans.
always be Han Solo. Yeah, no one can replace him.
Yeah.
But like that's another instance where like what, I kind of get it, because he is kind of the like one of those guys, like his resume is huge.
Right.
If you're only going to see like one movie of his, like I don't know if his Star Wars role is like even his best role. It's great, but I would, man, Indiana Jones is so great. It's really great. Um, and then like but you look at someone like Daniel Craig, who doesn't have like a huge resume. You look at like Ewan McGregor, who doesn't have a huge resume per se. Like I mean, they've done a lot of work, but the difference is that McGregor is he's taking on like I'm Obi-Wan. Like people love my portrayal of him, and he loves it. Daniel Craig, who like people are only gonna remember as being Bond. Ugh, it's almost like he kind of hates us in a sense for loving him as Bond. And I don't know, like that's to his own, like that's fine. Um, and I like Daniel Craig, but it's just kind of like, and I understand like actors they want to be like a Tom Hanks or a Leonardo DiCaprio or whoever, like who can be in all these different roles, and he's not typecast or whatever. Like I guess a lot of people like, oh, I'm always gonna be this character. It fucking sucks. And it's like, no, you shouldn't have that mindset. Like the fact that you will always be remembered as being this character, that's your legacy. That's a great
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's immortality.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's nothing to be sneezed at.
And it does, and like I said, if you end up doing like these other iconic roles, that's great too. Like that's fine. Like, but like if you're remembered for even just one role, you've done your job as an actor.
Indeed.
But I really love Casino Royale. I think it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of a good start to this. Like, this is the most recent Bond era. We don't know who's going to be the new Bond. I hope it's Henry Cavill.
Mm. Oh, one really quick thing about Casino Royale. I love how they like kind of keeping with the continuity. They explain where he gets his Aston Martin.
Yeah, they do, which is also
It's not
great.
even, and yeah, it's not even like a current year Aston Martin. It's the classic iconic, was it DB? Is it
I think, yeah,
DB 30?
something like that. Yeah, it's one of the classic ones.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I'm glad it wasn't like current year, Aston Martin, but it was like the classic, like Connery DB, Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's which is great.
Yeah,
Which he also said. Daniel Craig says like, yeah, that's my favorite one. It's just so cool. He loved driving that one around.
yeah. DB 5. That's what it was.
Yeah, the DB5. Yeah.
Mhm. Anything
Um,
else you want to add?
no, I don't really have anything to add. I think that this is a great movie. It has some great action. Um, Definitely, it's not the best of the Craig ones. I would say Skyfall falls into that category.
Mhm.
Um, and but no, this is a great kickoff for this era of Bond, and I love this movie. I've seen it now probably about like 10 times. I really love this movie. It's really 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 good.
Agreed.
What would
Alright.
you give as your rating, Andy?
I'm gonna give this one a solid 4.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It's definitely a 4.
Mhm.
There's a few like flaws, but like it's really like nitpicky.
Mhm.
Uh, but this is a movie for the ages. I will probably come back to this movie several times. Um, it's become one of my favorite Bond movies,
Mhm.
just because I do. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Jason Bourne, and
Mhm.
this has a lot of that in there. But it's also one of my favorite iconic characters, which is James Bond. Um, this is probably James Bond is one of those like great iconic franchises. Yeah, obviously like Star Wars is in there.
Mhm.
This one of the like the longest running franchises. I mean, it has like what 27 movies now done
Yeah.
for it.
Mhm.
I think of like some other ones like Zatoichi has like a whole bunch of there's a lot of movies in the Zatoichi series, which at some point we're gonna talk more about Zatoichi.
Mhm.
Uh, like Charlie Chan has like some 50 movies or whatever. Um, I'm trying to think of like other like iconic franchise. Like Indiana Jones has about like God 3 movies. Some would say 4,
Some
maybe a
would say
fifth
4.
coming on the way, but I'm gonna stick with 3.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Three's my
Terminator,
head canon.
Rambo, Rocky. These are the iconic franchises
Mhm.
that I can think of. But this is one of those great long running franchises that just never seems to get old. There's not like there like some of the movies are not good,
Mhm.
but like there's not. I can't really say that there's a really bad movie in the Bond franchises. Even in Her Majesty's Service with George Lazenby, like it's not a bad movie, but it's just not a good Bond movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, I love Bond. It's great. It's fun.
Mhm.
It's not like super deep, having like this like great message behind it, but
Mhm.
you, it's a great popcorn thriller action adventure. It's a cool guy that everyone wants to be.
Right. Yeah, I remember a YouTube commenter. He was you know, a political commentator. He was making a comparison of why James Bond is so popular. is because of conflict and how basically all characters in literature and TV and movies are all conservative because you know who would watch a James Bond movie where he goes he rolls up to Blofeld's lair in a Prius, hands him a notice from the UN saying, you were in violation of such and such laws, and then get back into his Prius and then drive off. Who's gonna watch that movie? Nobody.
No,
Nobody.
But that's all I got to say about Bond. I'm a little sad that the Bond month is ending, but I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely, it was it was nice to visit some old Bond movies and getting a little history about the franchise.
Yeah.
So that's our review for Casino Royale, the last Bond movie in our Bond month. Both Robert and I give this a 4. Definitely would recommend. And it's good for multiple viewings.
Oh yeah.
It holds up.
Do not watch Quantum of Solace before you watch Casino Royale. I made that mistake.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Quantum of Solace was very disappointing. It didn't do it any favors that this movie came out during like the writer's strike and all that. So.
Oh yeah.
So that's true. There is some room for compassion.
Yeah.
So just kind it's one of those movies that I think I have to give another chance.
It's like I said, it's not a bad movie. It has its charms. It's just not it's not as good as the other Craig ones. It's not as good as some other Bond films. But it's worthy to watch.
Yeah, it's not quite the greatest follow up to Casino Royale, but it's and it doesn't really hold a candle to Skyfall.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's our review for Casino Royale. Both Robert give it a 4. Definitely go give it a watch, and I hope you enjoy it. That'll do it for us tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob has a good time.
Always a great time.
Yeah, I mean, dang, we're almost at 3 hours. Which I know your wife will let you know how she feels about that.
Oh, she already told me.
Yeah, I can tell by your face. But yeah, that's the show for tonight. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday at 6 for more commentary on current events and of course our movie review. Don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have: the Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circular Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again.